Okay. Okay. All righty. Where did I lose control?
Well, you lost art for starters, so.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that.
Yes.
Okay. Could everyone please take a seat?
Oh, Red Wing probably.
Art, will you please take a seat? Art? Art?
Yeah, we do have a
Are
lot
these,
of
is this thing on? Okay. Very good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's offerings. I would like to open the February meeting, regular meeting of the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board. I'd like to call it to order. First order of business is, I believe, that the agenda stands as printed, as published. I'd like to hear a motion to accept Art's meeting notes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Review and acceptance of minutes, regular minutes of, I believe these are the ones we're dealing with right now, October 15th, December, no,
No, you're dealing with the minutes of the last meeting.
the last
January
meeting.
6th.
Oh, okay.
Only said I've seen.
That was a January 6th.
Yeah.
Very good. Has anyone else read them?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any additions or alterations? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, just to remind everyone, confirmation of our special meeting scheduled for Tuesday, February 18th, 6:30. So you're all aware of that? I'm not aware of any correspondence on non-agenda items or announcements. Anyone else have anything? Okay, we will wait for our first public hearing scheduled at 6:35.
You have to sign it.
Yeah, let's see if we can do
Can we do
that.
that?
Okay.
Should be able to do that.
The moratorium?
The head of sign.
Oh, you've got that, and you've got the moratorium also.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah,
those.
you've got two items there.
Where's the voting sign? Oh, right, yes, okay. David, we have a little business we're going to do to fill the time before the public hearing starts. Okay. The first thing is David Davidowich, 2 Charles Street, Rhinecliff. It's the Heta Glog sign permit, which the zoning enforcement officer said it does meet the necessary specifications for size, type, lighting, and whatnot, and it's basically just whether or not we approve the appearance of said sign.
It's very attractive.
Yeah. Pretty simple and straightforward.
You've got there's a resolution or a motion in the notes. So, obviously, in the last page or next to the last page.
I believe it's right here. Let me read that to you. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board finds the 18-inch by 31-inch projecting wall sign proposed by Timely Signs for installation by Hedda Glog at 2 Charles Street to be consistent with both the Town of Rhinebeck's design guidelines and the pertinent standards for such installations within the Rhinecliff Hamlet, RH, Rhinecliff Overlay, RCO districts. The Planning Board recommends the requested sign permit be granted. Could I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. And, yes. All right. The other thing that has been referred to us is the local law, the number to be given. It's the zoning code. It's the moratorium on the application for green building standards. The town board is proposing to place a one-year moratorium on the green building standards while they actually develop the necessary program and procedures to implement that portion of the zoning law. I think that since we're not in a position to implement it at the present time, a moratorium makes good sense. The moratorium is to last for up to a year, but as soon as they can actually develop the program so it's implementable, the moratorium will be taken off, and that portion of the zoning code will then go back into effect. So basically, they're asking for a recommendation, and I bet I have a draft here.
Application.
Okay. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board recommends the town board enact local law number to be given of 214, moratorium on green building standards, and offers its assistance in working diligently with other affected parties during the moratorium period to devise a means to implement green building energy conservation objectives through a process easily understood and administered within this community and with standards economically practicable and appropriately suited to the type and scale of development proposed. Could I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
There you go.
Oh, we're awfully close. We'll give it 15 seconds. Okay, well, that's close enough. Okay. Jonna Paolela at 340 Wurtemberg Road, special use permit and site plan, public hearing on applications for special use permit and site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning in the matter of the proposed expansion of the old Rhinebeck Inn from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom bed and breakfast establishment in the rural countryside RC5 district, being a type 1 action under seeker. Basically, you just sort of want to describe what you want to do, which is you want to add a bedroom to your existing bed and breakfast.
And do I go into the fact that this has already happened 10 years ago?
You can describe the history of what happened in terms of the ZBA and the variance and...
Okay. So it was about 10 years ago that we sought a variance to go from a 3 to a 4-room bed and breakfast. And because at the time, there was a 3-room limit, and we were awarded that variance. And then I got a building permit to add a bathroom, which was inclusive in turning an existing bedroom space and, to add the private bath. And I was awarded that was in completion. The building permit was acquired and the C of O was given 10 years ago. And it has only just now come to everybody's attention that there was another step involved, that the special use permit needed to be amended from 3 to 4 rooms as well. So we're just going back and doing that part of it.
Very good. And who on the planning board did the site visit? I think it was Jesse.
Jesse.
And,
No, it was only Jesse.
okay, well, Jesse emailed me. He's stuck in New Jersey in the snow, so he's not going to be here. And he said that it fits in, it's an existing room in the historic structure. He sees absolutely no issues with it whatsoever and recommends that the planning board approve the special use permit and the site plan. Any questions by members of the board? Comments from the...
Wasn't there an issue with the parking or something that also needs to be resolved?
No, that's the
That
other.
was good. That-
Oh, okay, I'm
that
sorry.
was
Yeah,
another one.
That's the other one.
Okay.
You've got a statement of local concern from the county, so you're
Right.
clear in that regard.
The CAB, we've had no objection from the CAB. They seem to feel it's perfectly all right as well.
Right.
And it's not in the LWRP, so there's no consistency review required. Any comments from the public? Okay, hearing no comments from the public. We have a few minutes before the next public hearing. I have 2 resolutions here to read. First is the seeker resolution. Yes. Okay. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows on the December 11th, 2013 applications by Jonna Paolela for special use permit and site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning, Sections 125-21, District Schedule of Area and Bulk Regulations, Section 125-68 PP, specific standards for bed and breakfast establishment, and Section 12573, uses subject to a site plan approval in the matter of the legalization of a bed and breakfast establishment with 4 guest rooms, Old Rhinebeck Inn, 340 Wurtemberg Road in the rural countryside RC5 district, as heretofore subject to a certificate of occupancy granted by the town code enforcement officer around 2004, and a current permit to operate a rooming house as issued by the Dutchess County Health Department, being a type 1 action due to its location within or adjacent to property listed on the National Register of Historic Places, for which the planning board is sole involved agency, is serving as lead agency under seeker. 1, determines upon review of the EAF Part 1 and its own completion of EAF Part 2 in consideration of both the criteria for determining significance set forth in Title 6, Part 617.7C NYCRR, and the historic preservation policies underlying the National Register of Historic Places designation, that the proposed action as described in the application and being a type 1 action will cause no potential significant adverse impact on the environment, and thus issues a negative determination of non-significance, deeming an environmental impact statement to not be required and stating such will not be prepared. 2, authorizes the chairman to so execute the first page of the full EAF and directs the planning board clerk to distribute and file the full EAF with negative declaration, annotation, and other documentation as may be pertinent to a type 1 action in the manner set forth within seeker implementing regulations, Title 6, Part 617.12 NYCRR. Could I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
And
Let the chairman so execute.
could I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Still have a minute or two? Okay. So I shall move right along. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows on the December 11th, 2013 application by Jonna Paella, I hope I'm getting that right, for special use permit and site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning, Sections 125-21, District Schedule of Area and Bulk Regulations, Section 12568 PP, specific standards for bed and breakfast establishment, and Section 12573, uses subject to site plan approval in the matter of the legalization of a bed and breakfast establishment with 4 guest rooms, Old Rhinebeck Inn at 340 Wittenberg Road in the rural countryside RC5 district, as heretofore subject of a certificate of occupancy granted by the town code enforcement officer around 2004, and a current permit to operate a rooming house as issued by the Dutchess County Health Department, and for which a negative declaration determination of non-significance has been issued by the planning board. 1, in consideration of the application for special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning, Section 12573, to authorize establishment of a bed and breakfast establishment with 4 guest rooms, 1, determines the proposed use in no way contravene any of the general standards for all special permit uses as set forth in Section 12567. B, further determines the proposed use to be in conformance with the specific standards for bed and breakfast establishment as set forth at Section 12568 PP. C, grants a special use permit pursuant to said Chapter 125 of the Town Code and subject to the following prerequisite conditions and/or requirements. 1, payment of any outstanding fees or reimbursable amounts due the Town of Rhinebeck with respect to the submission, review, and processing of this application under the Town Code, Chapter 125, the town's fee schedule, and executed escrow agreement. 2, securing of site plan approval for the proposed use. 2, in consideration of the application for site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning, inclusive of both the sketch plan drawing dated December 10th, 2013, and the aforementioned permit issued by the Dutchess County Health Department, waives any further site plan requirements as set forth within the Town Code. B, approves the application for site plan approval and authorizes the chairman to so note on the sketch plan drawing upon the applicant's satisfaction of each of the below condition and/or requirements within the 6 calendar months of the adoption of this resolution. 1, payment of any outstanding fees or reimbursable amounts due the Town of Rhinebeck with respect to the submission, review, and processing of this application under Town Code Chapter 125, the town's fee schedule, and executed escrow agreement. In taking this action, the planning board further authorizes the town zoning enforcement officer to issue a certificate of occupancy for the proposed bed and breakfast establishment with 4 guest rooms upon his determination. All other codes, laws, rules, or regulations within the purview of the ZEO and/or building inspector, including but not limited to the requirements of the New York State Uniform Building Code and Fire Prevention Code, are satisfied. Could I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Could I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Richard?
Aye.
Woody?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Melody?
Aye.
And I vote aye. You're all set. You just have to make sure all the bills are paid, and you'll be submitting just the final plan to me for me to stamp and sign.
Okay, so the things that I have to put together, somebody, Joe, will put something together?
Yeah, check with Joni, and she can tell you exactly what she needs and how many of it.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as we're all concerned, yes, you're all set. Thank you. Okay, our next public hearing, the Quentin Johnson Irrevocable Trust, 12 through 14 Old Primrose Hill Road, subdivision plat. Public hearing on application for subdivision plat under Town Code Chapter 101, subdivision of land for lot line alterations precedent to transfer and consolidation of portions of the trust's lands totaling 9.342 acres within the rural countryside RC5 district, with those of the adjacent lands of Patrick and Mary Kelly and lands of Carl Meyer being a type 1 action under seeker. And I guess, Marie, you're...
Okay, the property in question is on Primrose Hill Road in the town of Rhinebeck, obviously. Many years ago, the county came along and subdivided this property basically by doing a taking to create the new Primrose Hill Road, where old Primrose Hill Road went up and around by the Johnson's house. This piece of property was sort of abandoned by that subdivision. The Johnsons haven't used it in years. The adjacent property owner, Carl Meyer, has determined that he would like to have ownership of that, and the other adjacent property owner, Patrick Kelly, asked to acquire a small parcel of that land as well. And so the project has proceeded to public hearing. The parcel pretty much exists by itself. It's vacant land. Mr. Meyer is going to put his land in conservation easement, and Mr. Kelly is just going to make it part of his existing house lot, which is a lot on Charles Lane, which is basically a little over 2 acres, I believe. So he'll wind up having a little over 3 acres when his lot line change is completed. And the intent is that there will be no new lots created by this application, that both parcels of land, all the land that's on the south side of Primrose Hill Road, will become part and parcel of adjacent landowners' properties, and therefore no new lots created.
Who did the site visit? Sharon, Woody?
You want to go first?
I see no problem at all. It's as simple as I can state it. It's the right thing to do.
And Lisa Camp from the Conservation Advisory Board was there when Sharon and I were there, and she also agreed that it was reasonable in its nature.
Agreed,
Okay.
yes.
Any
Excellent.
comments, questions from the public? Hearing none, I believe I have a seeker reg...
Two things before that, Michael. One is to confirm with what Bree just stated. The Conservation Advisory Board did find there to be no significant adverse environmental effect, did point that out in their recent meeting notes. And secondly, while it's included, the requirement is included in the later resolution that you'll be considering, I have already reviewed the draft consolidation deeds that were provided, and they are acceptable.
Okay.
And just to mention, I did give Joan copies of the certified mailings, the affidavit from the newspaper that said it was published, and copies of the pictures of the sign.
She's giving me the thumbs up.
Yes.
You're good. Actually, we have to go to our next public hearing before we can do your, because we're scheduled for that. Okay. The next public hearing, Red Wing Properties, Inc., former Vincent Kinlan Mine, 234 through 286 White Schoolhouse Road special permit. Public hearing on application for special use permit and site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning in the matter of proposed renewal of special use permit to continue mining within a 9-acre of 38-acre life of mine area within the rural countryside RC5 and soil mining SMO districts, and to introduce within the 9-acre area subaqueous mining with the related installation of DEC-approved turtle fence, being an unlisted action under seeker. It's all yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trimble and Board. My name is Paul Griggs. I'm a consulting geologist for Red Wing Properties. I was also the consultant for the prior owner, Vincent Kinlan. We are proposing to renew our mining permit and our town special use permit on the 38 acres up in the northern part of the property, about a 241-acre property. This is the area that has been permitted under DEC and has been mined since the 1980s. We are also modifying our permit to allow us to create a 9-acre pond down here in the southwest part of the mining area. Trucks will continue to come out the same road that they've always come out, continue out onto White Schoolhouse Road. Basically, we're not changing any intensity of the operation. We're proposing just to continue what we have been doing since the 1980s. Red Wing is the new owner. They purchased the property from Mr. Kinlan. I believe that was in last spring, I believe it was. And they have transferred the DEC permits over to their name, and they are seeking to renew and transfer the permits from the town into their name also. In terms of what we're doing there, most of this area here has already been mined at one time or another. The green areas here are a little bit of areas above water that have not yet been mined, but we will finish those off very shortly. Most of the activity in recent years has been up in the northern part, and then the purple areas down in here are areas that have actually, the topsoil has been replaced, and they've reclaimed that. So what we're going to do is go down in the bottom of the existing cut and down on the mine floor and dig a deeper and down below the water table. The material will be excavated, placed on the sides on the mine floor. The water will dewater, then they will load it, load it into trucks or do the processing of it. In terms of reclamation, when this is all done, when they're done mining this, they will slope the sides of the pond off in accordance with the grading plan, and it'll be a nice 9-acre lake.
Okay. A couple of things I just want to bring to everyone's attention tonight. The first is the actual permit you're applying for is 125-68FF, extractive operations and soil mining in the Soil Mining Overlay District. It just says in the thing, in your special use permit, it says, site plan or special permit review for application for existing sand and gravel mining. There's no such special use permit, so I'm assuming this is the one you're actually applying for.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And it's basically going to be a new permit, because under the old permit from the town, unless we had received an application to extend the existing permit, special use permit, by September 30th, basically this expired, the one that's currently in effect, well, it's not currently in effect, was in effect, expired on December 31st. So this is basically a new application is the way we have to treat it.
I think, Michael, the other aspect, and for Paul Griggs' benefit, town needs to face this as a different application, because a renewal would simply authorize the continuation of surface mining with no change in that nature of the operation or the conditions attached.
That's correct.
So therefore, the board considers this a new application.
Yep, and
Can you speak up? We're having trouble hearing.
Are these-
I understand this is going to be a new special permit?
Yes, it's a new application.
Not the existing one that's being
It's
extended.
basically what it is, it's a new application for a special permit, but to extend the existing use as it has existed, with the one exception.
It's a different operation that they're proposing.
It's a different operation, but it's the same mining site, and the difference is now there's going to be subaqueous, they're going to put in a 9-acre, they're proposing to put in a 9-acre lake, which was not in the previous approvals from DEC or the town as far as the mine, but it's still within the same footprint of the existing mine. It's just that there's now going to be a lake. Okay, well, there are a couple more things I think I want you to understand. We do understand, and I know that the mine owners understand as well, that there is and I have not been informed of whether this has changed, a complaint investigation on the part of DEC for lands that were cleared outside of the mine itself. And it was just below where we were standing. We did our site visit the other day. And as a result of that, there's also a town notice of apparent violation dealing with a failure to get a permit for clear cutting and of that area from the town at this point in time. There's another violation, and DEC was discussing this with me, is that the entire site, I believe, is still under an application before DEC. It has not been withdrawn to mine out basically the entire area. And that has not been withdrawn. And under seeker, you cannot make any physical changes to an area while it's under seeker review.
DEC, however, just to clarify, DEC, however, has issued a permit
Yes.
we have,
for this operation. So apparently DEC, or at least some body in DEC, has decided that segmentation of the matter under seeker was appropriate.
right, and the activity that occurred there, we were clear cutting an area that had previously been farmed. We were clear cutting it for the purpose of going back and continuing to farm that area. Seeker does allow disturbance of an area, but you cannot start the project. You cannot, start the mining project, but you can continue to use your property for other purposes.
Actually, I would have to disagree, and I think that's why the complaint came from DEC, that they actually said you couldn't do that. And so and I have not received anything.
We've responded to the complaint, and our attorney has responded to the complaint, and that's the position he's taken. I know I've dealt with mining projects in other parts of the state where this has come up, and in every case that I've dealt with, you are allowed to continue using your property. You cannot begin the mining project until you have the approval.
Under
But,
the mining,
you
yes.
can do selective
Are
logging.
you saying
can do
there's something in
farming.
our
Yes.
zoning code that
Yes.
restricts anything at all from happening on a
It
piece of property?
restricts clear cutting or major excavation without a permit.
Clear cut, or
And this is
major
clear cutting.
excavation, which
And this
this is not clear cutting, it was just cleaning it up to turn it back into farming, which is what you were
Yeah,
doing before.
basically it was a field area that had, the poplars had started growing up in it, and they took the poplars down and.
What is the big
farm
concern
around.
on
The
our
big
part?
concern, once again, is that it is considered clearing, because the land had not been farmed. It's not in an ag district according to your application. Therefore, it is not protected under ag and markets law as far as that particular activity is concerned. The town should have been approached about this first. Obviously, DEC should have been approached about it as well. So those two conditions still exist. I have not heard from DEC that the complaint has been satisfied, that it does not still stand. And until I hear that, the other complaint from the town will still stand. I'm waiting to hear from, we spoke at the site visit, I think Mr. Doherty, Frank Doherty was there?
Yep.
No, actually it was Paul, was there, and he said that you have something from a farmer, a contract that you're going to give us a copy of, that was going to farm that land.
My nephew was supposed to be here, but he's stuck on the flight.
Okay. But that's,
So I'm here, and we do have a lease with Frank Foster. He farms a few pieces of property, combine them for us, and
so we're going to need a copy of that contract.
copy of the lease with you.
Correct.
So when Frank gets back, he'll
Okay,
give you the other.
that's fine.
information that you need.
But-
Steve provides, Steve, Frank Foster,
Yeah.
Steve Kowalski had been farming
Mhm.
almost all of that area. But without our knowledge, about 6, 8 years ago, we stopped farming that northern section.
Mhm.
And it grew up in a bunch of little poplars. So Frank Foster wanted to come in and farm the whole thing, except for the 20 acres, Steve.
Well, that's where the problem lies, since it's not in an ag district, it was not being actively farmed. It is within an area that's under secret review at the current time. That's why the violation, notice of violation of the town zoning code was sent out. There's, I think, a 14-day, I don't remember what the timing on was that, to respond. I'd like to see the contract. I'd like to hear back from DEC. They did the inspection out there, I think, December 23rd. And I'd like to discuss with them exactly what their position is now on this as well. But those are the situations that, as they currently exist. If the notice of apparent violation were to become an actual violation, then the planning board would not be able to proceed with reviewing the special use permit and site plan application. At this point, it is just a notice of apparent violation, and at that point, we can continue with the process. So that's just the material I wanted to bring out right now, things that have happened in the last week or so. And you had something you wanted to say.
Let's get these on the record. And some of these folks may be here this evening. If I mention your communication, if you're here this evening, we'll let you actually present the communication later. But the first, the only items I see here in the file is, number one, we asked Mr. Doherty, Frank Doherty, at the last meeting to provide a copy of the approval of the permit transfer, DEC's approval of the permit transfer from Vincent Kinlan to Red Wing, and we'll simply report for the record that that has been received. That approval was issued by DEC on the 29th of July of last year. Secondly, just in order of when they were received, there was a letter received by the planning board concerning this matter and for this public hearing by George D. Rikakis. Is Mr. Rikakis here this evening? So we'll read that letter into the record shortly. There is a letter from the town highway superintendent concerning this application. A letter from Susan Greenberg. Okay, you're here, so. Oh, no, you're not. Okay, Susan Greenberg? No? Not here, but she sent it. Okay. Leslie Duncanberg? Okay, so, and the Conservation Board.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to read those, Michael, but
I suppose I'm supposed to read them, aren't I?
you really should, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that I can do.
Okay, here, in the order.
I'll read them into the
My
record.
voice is going to give out if I try to help you.
And mine won't? Okay. If any of these people are who would like to read their own letter, they're absolutely welcome to do so.
Well, they're not here, except for
Yeah, well, I thought I'd give it another shot.
the last one.
Lisi Denkenberg, do you want me to read it?
Sure, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Dear Planning Board members, as I am unable to attend the meeting which will address the above topic, which is having to do with the mine permit.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm in the front row and I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, just.
I can read it.
See if this works. Is this better? Okay? Okay.
Just one second, I'm going to move this. I'm moving this mic forward also.
Okay. All right. And if I go off, just let me know, and I'll try and get back on board here. As I am unable to attend the meeting which will address the above topic, I am sharing my views below. I am dismayed to hear that the planning board may approve an extensive mining operation on White Schoolhouse Road, coincidentally adjacent to my 140 acres of woods and streams and to my neighbors' homes in a residential area. When the permit was last renewed, and we were then, as now, opposed, we were assured that future permits would not be automatically approved. My neighbors and I are looking forward to the required reclamation of the property in question. As you know, this kind of enterprise means blasting, heavy truck traffic, damage to roads, dust, dirt, loud noises, and visual blight, in addition to the danger to pedestrians, children, horseback riders, wildlife, and other vehicles. And what route or routes will the trucks take when they leave White Schoolhouse, disrupting traffic in many other residential areas? Milan residents and their boards oppose such an intrusion and work long and hard to avoid such disruption, and I'm puzzled that Rhinebeck officials feel such a project is appropriate. We deserve to know how permitting this activity fulfills the purpose of the town's master plan. You owe it to us to explain how this heavy industry enhances Rhinebeck's charm and how it preserves our entitlement to the quiet enjoyment of our properties in a residential zone which you are charged to protect. Please tell us. Sincerely, Leslie Denkenberg. And I have, this is a letter from Mr. Riskaskis. Thank you. Okay. Dear Miss Winnie, it's addressed to the chair of the clerk of the planning board. I live at 103 White Schoolhouse Road and am writing with respect to the application by Red Wing Properties for a special use permit and site plan review for the Kinlan Mine on White Schoolhouse Road in Rhinebeck. I understand that the proposed project is larger and more ambitious than the previous use for the land. This creates a series of very difficult issues for homeowners living in the area. As with all heavy industrial use, the largest issue facing a township is locating the industry and avoiding disturbing the residents who live nearby. In the past, the township has allowed small mines in this area. However, this project exceeds the historical precedent. This is over and above the magnitude of the previous projects. The negative impact is immense. Most townships make a serious error in believing that by allowing a project such as this, it will increase the taxable value of the mining land and increase township income vis-a-vis real estate taxes. Unfortunately, this is rarely the case. The majority of the time, the increase in revenue is negated by the loss in value of the adjacent properties. This, in addition to the significant infrastructure costs, end up over the long term costing the taxpayers much more. The large trucks traveling along White Schoolhouse Road will cause an accelerated deterioration of the roadbed, necessitating its replacement at more frequent intervals. This must be done, or the township runs the risk of increased liability due to failure to abide by the Uniform Traffic Code. Also relating to the large trucks loudly traveling at high speeds along the road, the issue of noise and vibration is one that is very real. As a homeowner whose home is relatively even with the roadbed, the truck noise can be unbearable, not to mention the damage being done to the foundation of the home. Additionally, a residential neighborhood with children is no place for dump trucks. I believe it is time to restrict truck traffic on White Schoolhouse Road, not increase it. This is a residential neighborhood, not heavy industrial. The quality of life of the residents must be taken into consideration. It is bad enough that the land will be permanently altered by mining, but add to that damage being done to the neighbors who live close by. This will inevitably reduce property values and potentially create a blight condition in the area. School children are at risk because of the trucks. Our homes are at risk as well. The next huge issue is the environmental impact. Besides the clear effect on animals, reptiles, amphibians, what about the groundwater? This exceptionally serious question should be asked by anyone who has a well. My home uses well water. A project of this size, creating a 9-acre pond below the water table, is likely to significantly impact the quality and quantity of wells in the neighborhood. I wish to go on record stating that if my water is affected, I would expect compensation or remediation by both the township and the property owner. I also believe the cost of regular testing should be the responsibility of the developer. Can you estimate the cost of clean water? I sincerely hope you will recommend that this application be denied in its present form. This project does not belong in this neighborhood. You are the planning board. Plan to make White Schoolhouse Road a better place to live, not worse. George D. Reskakis of 103 White Schoolhouse Road. And this letter is from the town highway superintendent. Dear Mr. Trimble, I am in receipt of a request for comments regarding an application before the planning board for renewal and modification of a special use permit for the continued mining of sand and gravel and related actions at the property owned by Red Wing Sand and Gravel on White Schoolhouse Road, parcel 855330. Red Wing purchased the site of an existing gravel mine formerly owned by Vincent P. Kinlan last year. The applicant seeks to continue current mining operations at the location and additionally to introduce subaqueous mining. The property and mine in question are accessed from White Schoolhouse Road. There are some restrictions in place that regulate truck traffic on White Schoolhouse Road. Those restrictions in part date back to the Planning Board's granting of a special use permit that include, quote, "All trucks employed in the haulage of sand and gravel from the Kinland soil mine shall be limited to no more than 10-wheel, 12 cubic yard capacity, as recommended by the town highway superintendent and town engineer." That was from the town of Rhinebeck Planning Board minutes, March 7th, 2005. The permit also limits hours of operation, including the hauling of mine product, to between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. No mining activities, including hauling, are permitted on Saturdays or Sundays. Whoa. The above restrictions have been in place since the granting of a special use permit. As I understand the application currently before the Planning Board, the applicant wishes to expand operations, which would potentially increase truck size, capacity, and trip generation. In order for such a request to be reviewed, the applicant should provide a projected trip generation study, including types, sizes, capacities, and number of trucks, and also include any equipment or vehicles that will be entering and exiting the site. The information would be important in assessing the impact that any additional traffic may have on White Schoolhouse Road. In addition to trip generation, please note that I have the following concerns related to any possible increase of truck traffic or truck sizes on White Schoolhouse Road. Weight impact on White Schoolhouse Road Bridge, large vehicle navigation of curves on White Schoolhouse Road south of its intersection with Hilltop Road, speed, length, and agility of vehicles navigating the intersection of County Route 19, also known as Slate Quarry Road, and White Schoolhouse Road. There is an alternative entrance to the driveway currently serving the site. It is further south, located between two lots adjacent to the mine site. It functions as a service road for the farmland. I ask that the applicant and the Planning Board evaluate the possibility of the site using that entrance so that the two alternatives may be compared. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this application. If you have any questions or if you would like me to comment on any specifics of the proposal, please let me know. And I have a letter from Susan Greenberg. Dear Planning Board members, I'm writing because we are unable to attend today's Planning Board meeting as we only found out about Red Wing's applications and this meeting on Saturday and are unable to rearrange our schedules on such short notice. My husband and I have lived on White Schoolhouse Road for 14 years. We moved to Rhinebeck for its inherent beauty and peace and quiet. We were terribly upset to hear that the Planning Board would even consider the extensive mining operation on White Schoolhouse Road and are absolutely opposed to it for a number of reasons. This will be a noisy, dusty, lengthy, damaging, and disruptive intrusion into our lovely country road. We implore the Planning Board to consider how the blasting, heavy truck traffic, damage to roads will affect those of us living on White Schoolhouse Road, as well as potential danger to pedestrians, wildlife, other vehicles, and most likely increased traffic on the road and within the surrounding main streets. We will have repercussions not just for the duration of the operation, but for the future, affecting our property values and the quiet enjoyment we expect from living in a residentially zoned area. Further, the notion that Red Wing expects that the mining can result in a public pond or park is totally undesirable. I question what this additional mining actually does for the town of Rhinebeck. How will this improve the quality of life of its residents or betterment of the town? I hope you'll put the residents' interest and well-being ahead of Red Wing's financial expansion plans. Respectively, Susan Greenberg. And what I have here, is anyone here from the CAB? Seeing no one. We do have a report from the CAB. I'll just go over the main issues that they're concerned with.
You want me to read it?
Oh, okay.
I'll give you a break.
Thank you. Conservation Advisory Board.
So this is to Michael Trimble, Planning Board Chair from the Town Conservation Advisory Board, subject Red Wing Mine Special Permit. In November 2011, the CAB submitted a letter on record to the DEC detailing our concerns about sand and gravel mining at the property on White Schoolhouse Road when Vincent Kinlan owned the mine. Those issues were recently revisited in response to an application by Red Wing Sand and Gravel for a special use permit on that site and continue to be of serious concern, particularly after a site visit on January 27, 2014. This visit prompted some additional questions regarding impacts on the aquifer, Blanding's turtle protection, and point of access, traffic impacts, and compliance with the Rhinebeck Plan. Blanding's turtle conservation. The DEC guidelines state that projects with potential impacts to Blanding's turtles require a 300-foot, quote, no disturbance zone, end quote, buffer. How will that be achieved when the point of access is between two kettle shrub pools, primary Blanding's habitat? We urge the Planning Board and DEC to take a hard look at whether this important species will be adversely affected by continuing mining activities in this designated priority conservation area. Impacts to water resources. The primary ecological concern with the proposed special use permit is impacts to water resources. from protection of wetlands and riparian buffers to runoff to the Landsman Kill to contamination and compromise on the underlying Zone 1 aquifer. The proposed plan to dig a 9-acre lake has far-reaching implications to the environment in and around the site. The characteristics of loose sand and gravel deposits provide an excellent natural filtration system over this aquifer. When that filtration system, i.e. the sand and gravel, is removed, the movement of groundwater and any contaminants or sediment into the aquifer will be quickened and the filtration compromised. Fuels and lubricants used in sand and gravel mining would have quicker access to the water table and increased mineral precipitate to the water table is likely. The prior surface excavation mining operation did not entail these impacts, whereas excavating to form a 30-foot deep lake will compromise this major aquifer. The CAB advises an independent environmental analysis and a detailed explanation of how the hydrology of the surrounding environment would be impacted, including an analysis of the runoff to wetlands and the Landsman Kill. A report on the depth of the aquifer from the ground surface would be necessary to ensure that mining doesn't breach the aquifer itself, as this is irreparable in post-mining reclamation. A survey of how many people rely on that aquifer's water is also advised. Traffic impacts. Truck traffic and access to Slate Quarry Road is a major issue. Crossing Slate Quarry at what is recognized as a dangerous entry point with poor sight lines and frequent accidents. White Schoolhouse Road is a winding country road. Despite the terms of the special use permit, it will be impossible to regulate the number of trucks trafficking these roads per day. Compliance with the Rhinebeck Plan, and it quotes the plan. Chapter 9 of the Rhinebeck Plan unequivocally calls for all aquifer recharge areas to be designated critical environmental areas, CEAs, and for the town to have strict controls of potentially contaminating activities, especially on Zone 1 sand and gravel surface areas where recharge is quickened. The Rhinebeck Plan further identifies this parcel as part of the Slate Quarry Priority Conservation Area, within which habitat protection is essential. The proposed truck traffic due to transfer of product is not in the spirit of the Rhinebeck Plan, where the mining overlay was intended to facilitate the small family-owned businesses on the road. Reclamation. If a permit is granted, we strongly advise that the property outside of the proposed disturbance area be put under conservation easement and that a detailed reclamation plan be put in place, including topsoil replacement, revegetation, beach access to the lake, and restoration of the landscape. This reclamation should adhere to a strict timetable. We have confidence that the Planning Board will act in the best interest of the Rhinebeck community. Thank you for your consideration. Town of Rhinebeck Conservation Advisory Board.
And I have one more letter that was almost escaped me. It's addressed to the town board. I think it was also meant to come here. We apologize for not being able to attend tonight's meeting in person. Because of the snowstorm, it is too hazardous to drive from the city and back after the meeting. Please accept this letter in our stead. To begin, we are amazed that a major expansion of gravel mining on White Schoolhouse Road has already been approved without longtime residents like ourselves, stakeholders, being made aware of the plans. We have lived at 407 White Schoolhouse Road since 1984, directly opposite Mr. Vanderleest's gravel mine, and we have some experience with the impact of these mining operations. The conditions existed before we purchased land and built our house, but the Vanderleests, both senior and junior, have always been very good neighbors and responsive to any concerns we expressed about activities in their yards. We're doubtful whether a large corporation headquartered elsewhere would be similarly friendly. But despite the neighborly efforts of the Vanderleests, it does not mean that there's been no impact as follows. 1, during the week when the mine is operating, there is almost constant loud noise. Since the mine was already operating when we purchased our property, we don't feel justified in making any complaint about the noise, even though we know it substantially reduces the value of our property. The proposed new mine will have the same effect at the north end of White Schoolhouse Road. 2, perhaps even more important, there was already a great deal of traffic from heavy trucks. Our road was widened perhaps 20 years ago to accommodate this heavy traffic. We were not happy to see this intrusion on the rural character of the road on which we lived. More traffic will degrade the road further and will require further upgrade towards highway standards. We do not see why the character of our road should be destroyed to benefit one commercial enterprise. 3, further, the trucks already on the road certainly do not all observe the speed limit and are therefore hazardous to the many pedestrians who take advantage of the road's country-rural character. Allowing further extensive mining operations in the north end of the road will compound the hazardous character of the road. 4, our property opposite the entrance drive to the mine receives litter from the trucks. Drivers toss their lunches, their bottles, and occasionally other garbage on our land. It was far worse until the Vanderlees cracked down on the drivers doing this, although it still remains a problem. The litter from increasing mining truck traffic is potentially a very nasty problem. Finally, we think Red Wing has already proven it is not a good operator in its operations in Milan, which have drawn repeated complaints. We encourage our town board to show resolve as great as that of the Milan Town Board in opposing Red Wing's efforts to expand its mining operations. We urge the town board not to issue a special use permit for this mine and to make every effort to preserve the residential quality of life on White Schoolhouse Road. Sincerely, Yoram and Felice Gelman, White Schoolhouse Road, Rhinebeck. And those are the letters that we have.
Pile of letters back.
I'm sorry?
Hand me that pile. No, the others, please. And keep them in the file.
Oh, okay.
Keep the files.
Good idea. And I know that 2 members of the planning board made a site visit. I know the CAB also accompanied us. The executive director of the Winnicke Land Trust was there, and our highway superintendent, Kathy Kinsella, and highway foreman, Bob Wyant, also joined us on that visit. At the time, in spite of the cold, we went over, we looked at the site where the lake would be going. I think the thing I do want to stress here is that the permit that is being applied for here is to permit continuation of the mining within the existing mine, with a 9-acre lake within the existing mine. There is before DEC, and it has been for 5 or 6 years, I believe, an application basically to mine out about 141 acres of the 250-odd acre
241, yeah.
something like that site. That's not the permit that's before us tonight. That's not the proposal that's before us tonight. That's still under consideration with DEC, and but that's just, I think there's been some confusion as to exactly what's being applied for here. This is a new permit because the old one did expire without any application for renewal. It's a new permit because there's some new activity taking place that was not contained in either the old DEC permit or the special use permit from the town. As a result, the town will be going through its normal procedures with a special use permit. There will have to be a seeker review of the aspects which would pertain to the town permit, which is what goes on outside the mine. DEC has exclusive authority to regulate the actual mining and the activities within the mine itself. The town of Rhinebeck has the authority over what happens outside of the mine itself. In particular, in the past, trucks, size of trucks, truck routes, things of that sort. Hours of operation, things along those lines, and that will continue to be the case. But since it is a new permit, this is going to be treated the way we treat any other special use permit and site plan. Yes?
I just want to be clear, because I've been reading email threads and listening to everything here today, and it just doesn't seem clear to me. Are you saying that the town of Rhinebeck literally has no control over whether there are mines on properties with
Yes.
limits?
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. The town of Rhinebeck can zone land for mining, and it can unzone land for mining. When the comprehensive plan and the new zoning went into effect, a mining overlay district was created, which basically covered the existing mines on White Schoolhouse Road, which had always been run. The intent was they would be run as they've always been run, as local operations, things of that sort. The town has the legal ability to change the zoning at any time it feels it's appropriate and can justify doing so. So the town can unzone so mining can't take place. But if the mining is permitted within certain portions of the town, only DEC has permitting authority of how that takes place, what processes go forward, things of that sort. Art's going to say something.
No, you're okay.
Oh.
I think the distinction
Couldn't
is,
miracle.
I think the distinction is that the town has the authorization under its zoning authority to either authorize zoning in certain, mining on a townwide basis, authorize zoning only in certain districts, or prohibit zoning. And there's case law dealing with that.
Is it safe to say that the property we're talking about is in a mining zone?
At the present time, yes.
It is. It's-
So, but we can't sit there and pull mining permission for them because we don't like their plan.
Right.
It's also safe to say that we were given assurances, as in everyone, all the residents in this area, White Schoolhouse Road, Bollenbecker Road, Miller Road, Buttonwood Lane, that this would not be something that sailed through without any discussion or explanation by the town as to why continued mining is a benefit to Rhinebeck. And I just, while I have the floor, would like to register my surprise that there isn't more of a discussion about this, and to try to understand how this is a benefit to a town like Rhinebeck that's gaining renowned throughout the state and throughout the country as a beautiful place to live and to come to visit because of the green spaces, not only because of the beautiful village, but because of the green spaces that surround this area. And I don't know, other than drug rehab center, high-rise, what sounds worse to potential buyers for properties in this area than a mining operation.
Well, there will be a discussion because we have to treat this as a special use permit application, site plan application, as we would anything else, as we did the previous people who had been here before, and they went through the same process. Interestingly enough, in the permit that DEC issued, I guess I'll just read this to you. I had not seen this before in a DEC permit of this sort. This was the interim permit that they issued for the mine. Under item E, seeker, unlisted action, no lead agency, no significant impact.
Mike, that microphone is...
Bring that over with me. Item E, seeker, unlisted action, no lead agency, no significant impact. Under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, seeker, the project associated with this permit is classified as an unlisted action, and the Department of Environmental Conservation has determined that it will not have a significant effect on the environment. Other involved agencies may reach an independent determination of environmental significance for this project, and the town of Rhinebeck is the other involved agency because of the special use permit required for the various other factors which allow the mining to go forward.
Can I just ask a question before, because it is really confusing. I understand what's the responsibility of the DEC, what's the responsibility of the town of Rhinebeck. And even if a permit is extended, isn't there any distinction ever made about how the mining is to go on if it's extended into another ownership? In other words, not everybody uses the same kind of trucks, not everybody uses the same kinds of equipment, not everybody makes the same kind of noise. You can't assume that one miner is anybody else's
Well,
miner.
actually, in this case, they would have to, because they're actually transferring the permit, in this case, they're given to Mr. Kinlan, to Red Wing, and so Red Wing has to follow the exact same restrictions that Mr. Kinlan's ownership did. So they actually do have to run it exactly the same way.
I have a question too.
What we're going to need you to do is identify yourself for,
I'm Mary Ball, and I
Okay.
was on the zoning board for 10 years. And at that time, there was an extension granted for the quarry. We called it the quarry process at that point, never mind. And it was a limited time and a limited acreage, and it was extended. I can't remember what year, and I can't remember, but there was a limitation placed on it. Perhaps it's gone through several, in the years elapsed since I've been on the board, maybe it has gone through several extensions. Is there no time limitation put on this mining operation that they're proposing?
each permit, I believe, runs for 5 years from DEC, and needs to be renewed prior to its running out. And the town special use permit, we run it concurrently with the DEC permit, and ours should have been reapplication should have been made to the town in September of last year to renew the existing special use permit. Since that did not happen, and since there are some changes in what's going to happen with the subaqueous mining, for example,
Well,
This
that's
is-
a great question, because this is a much more destructive process that's being proposed. When an aquifer is jeopardized, it's quite a different altogether than removing the surface
yeah.
gravel.
Well, as I said, this is going to be treated as we treat every other special use permit and application for site plan. It's going to have to go through a review, through a seeker review carried on. There will be, this public hearing will obviously be continued. It's not going to be closed tonight. This public hearing will continue.
Having lived through the DEC agreeing to the cement plant, I have very little faith in what DEC will come through with in form of protection for any of us.
Well, we can work with them. We can work with them. Yes. Please identify.
My name is Louis Amaru.
Thank you.
I live in Blacksburg. Quick question. Am I to understand that the Decker, father and son, are no longer associated with this mining area?
I do not know that. I do not know.
Well, I can
Yes.
answer that. No, Jeff Decker and Son will continue to operate the mine.
For Red Hook?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So all the equipment and everything they'll be owning, they'll be there,
That's correct.
And they will be employees, or will they be leasing?
I believe they're currently leasing.
What will they be doing once with this new contract? Is there-
My understanding is they will continue to operate there.
As leasers or as?
Yeah, they leased the land previously from,
Then what's the
Authority to
distinction here,
address that
whether they're-
question. That's not a question for
they're
Paul.
not employees, no, they would be leasing the land from Red Wing. Previously, they leased the land from Kinlan.
If I could just ask for a minute, I will ask one question just for a minute from Mr. Doherty. Can you answer this question about who's going to be operating the mine and under what conditions? Are they leasing it? We just heard that Jeff Decker is going to continue to operate the mine?
What period of time?
Is it under a lease agreement of some duration, or?
It was, I believe, under the contract.
That was a yup?
Yeah, they're under a yearly lease.
Can I ask, the relevance of that? I mean, we're here to discuss the permit. Regardless of who operates it, that's not really
I believe the
our business.
relevance is that people were concerned that since it was transferring ownership from one person to another firm.
I understand
they
you're
wanted to
comfortable
know-
with Mr. Decker running it, and you're comfortable with the fact that he's not going to bring in heavier equipment and really turn this into
We
a,
didn't say that.
And actually, it's not a question of comfort.
Could be the other way around.
Some of this has to
Could be
do
the other way
with,
around.
people living on the road, all the businesses, such as Mr. Vonderlee and the Lovatsky family have conducted their businesses because they're part of this road, part of this neighborhood, part of this community. And therefore, yes, the trust is greater. When someone comes entirely from the outside and proposes to continue a lease or a contract on a mine, but we don't really know anything about them, and it's not explicit exactly what the impact of this underwater mining is going to be. It's not explicit how many trucks and how large they are. I think it's a different,
but we
it's a
do,
different game.
I don't know how valid that is, but we do have restrictions on the trucks according to Kathy Kinsella. So there are restrictions.
You had
We have-
restrictions.
We had restrictions.
You had restrictions.
Well, no, according to her agreement, which I'm sure will be entered into again upon the applicant, we have hours of restriction of work, we have truck size restrictions. I mean, the whole speeding thing, I don't know, that's an individual driving down the road in a truck. I mean, I don't know how the owner, other than scolding these people.
I'm not talking about the speeding thing. I'm just talking about, first of all, I'm not necessarily in agreement with the idea of a mine on the road, but assuming that it's there and it's there permanently and somebody is there, and I think you have a right to know how it is being operated, and that will change depending on the owner. And if the owner is Red Wing, and even if Mr. Decker is continuing the role that he has, doesn't mean that something is not.
And I understand that, but contrary to what I just heard a couple minutes ago, there are a couple communities, Milan being one of them, Pleasant Valley being another one, where they've done wonderful things for the community. I think they put a big park in Pleasant Valley.
Point to the people who live in Milan.
I
Pardon
think-
me? Well, I know exactly who you're talking about because I've been to a
Richard-
couple of the board meetings.
Richard,
I
at this
understand
point,
that.
Excuse me,
Richard, our job here,
Members of the board
excuse me.
questioning the relevance
No,
of residents' questions.
excuse me.
Yeah, I'm questioning
Ladies and
what we're
gentlemen,
discussing here.
Richard, our job here as a planning
me?
board is to take comment.
Really?
Richard,
You're making a great name for yourself.
Richard, it is not our job here to debate. It is not our job here to question. It is our job to listen to the
I'm
public.
asking the questions because I want to understand what the concerns are.
Once you ask a question and you get an answer, then you do not then debate the validity of the answer. That's something we do later when we sit down together and then we go over what we've heard and then we discuss it. That is not the function of a public hearing. It is to take comment. If you have questions, ask the question, you get the answer, then we move on.
Shall I wait to
Yes.
make my comments until you have the board members make their comments?
Absolutely.
Is that what you'd like?
If you wish to comment, but the function of the public
Yes, I
hearing,
will. I'll
the
wait.
function
Let
of
me know
the
when you're
public
done.
hearing,
Let me know
is to
when it's
take
time to comment,
information.
Michael. Okay?
okay,
Okay?
yes.
Go on.
In lieu of the discussion that's happening,
Wait, we got to get this back under control.
Can I just quickly say something? The use of the word relevance is an unfortunate use of language, which should have been avoided. A quick comment I want to make recently. Mr. Decker, we opposed his expansion, but we learned to live with it because I think it required some sensitivity about neighbors. Because he's a native of this town, he understood it. Rich Von der Lee is now, it's a 4-generation business. They are neighbors. Rich is extremely sensitive to the needs of this town. And he basically, while he's running a business, he has to be thought of differently in some ways than someone who comes from another town and is planning to use White School Road as an artery to get to a road so he can get down to Storm Road.
I'm just going to interrupt you for a minute. Everyone, when you come up to speak, please use the microphone because they're not getting you on Panda. And, the public, as this goes on the air, people are going to want to hear what you said. They're going to see you, but they're not going to know what you said. So if you could just come up to the microphone, please. That would be helpful. Okay, other comments from the public? Yes. If you could come up to the microphone, please.
My name is Hans Bohm. I've lived on White Schoolhouse Road with my wife Mary for 49 years, and it's been a good 49 years. I'm now very hard of hearing, so what I say may have been a repetition. If so, my apologies. I would like to ask you to be very, very sensitive to the traffic problem on White Schoolhouse Road. I still remember we brought up 4 children, and when they were on bicycles, I used to tell them, as soon as you get on 308, you're going to be okay. But be very, very careful on White Schoolhouse Road, because it's narrow and dangerous, and it hasn't changed. Kids have been gone for decades, but the problem is still there. So anything that would make it worse is really, really objectionable. The second problem that I see that may not have been spoken about yet, unless I didn't hear it, is noise. On a good day, if the wind blows the right way, we can hear from White Schoolhouse Road the trains in Rhinecliff. They're 6 miles away. So it doesn't take much noise to carry under certain conditions. Any operation on White Schoolhouse Road that would create a lot of noise would be very, very detrimental to the quality of life for everybody who lives there. The third point I want to make is I looked at a map. I don't know if it was this map, but it may have been a similar map. The map must have been 50 or 60 years old, because the house in which I live, which is 51 years old, was not on it. The population on White Schoolhouse Road and the roads that have been built, like Cedar Lane and Jardim Court and the Hilltop, of course, which has been there for a long time. The population, since I've been there, that needs White Schoolhouse Road, I would estimate has quadrupled or quintupled in those decades. So there are quite a few people that need to use White Schoolhouse Road to get away from the house and get back home. That's what I would like to ask you to be very much aware of with whatever you decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from the public?
My name's Charles Wessler. I live on Bolenbecker Road, which is, my property is basically adjoined to Griffin Dunn's property. I'm speaking for Griffin as well, but Griffin can't be here, unfortunately, because he's working. But obviously, we've had many conversations about it. So our property also butts up exactly right here, along here, this line right here, and then my house is back here somewhere. So the point is that I can only speak selfishly because I'm not a minor, but I came to Rhinebeck, which I think is, I came from Los Angeles looking for paradise, and I found it about 13 years ago, and I built a house, and I've loved every day here in Rhinebeck, and the people are great. And I don't lock my door, although I probably shouldn't say that in public. I leave my key in my car, which I've never done in my life. And the idea of this mine coming, I want to say this before I say the next thing. Decker's been running the mine, Jeff has been running the mine for as long as I've been there. And he must be doing it very well, because I think for the last 5 years, he's been doing it with his fingers. Because for 5 years, I haven't heard anything except for a couple of trucks start up and move around a little bit, and then they stop. Prior to that, it was noisy, but you could kind of live with it. It was annoying. What I'm terrified of, and I mean terrified, is that every day of my life is going to be filled with, by the way, I'm not a weekender. I live here. And even though I'm a film producer, I'm here, I would say 70% of my yearly life. And I think it'll really ruin a way of life that I think many of us, not all of us, but many of us have come to really love. And I'm very much opposed to this for a lot of reasons, and I won't bore you with all of them. I'll put it in a letter so it's more succinct. But I'm hoping that the town board will find some way to stop this and let them do it in Poughkeepsie or maybe in near Hudson or something.
Thank you. Other comments from members of the public? I want to stress that the public hearing will not be closing tonight. It will be continued, and we'll be taking further comment. The planning board has a good bit of work to do, as we do for any special use permit and site plan application. Anyone has further comments they want to make, they can certainly make it at the next public hearing. And if you want to send in written things, you certainly can. If you have questions or issues, you're always welcome to bring them forward, and they will be considered as we go forward with this. Richard, you wanted to make your comments?
I do. I think it's very important to realize that Red Wing bought this property in good faith, that it has a permit. They're allowed to renew it. And I think you're missing the point. The point is we're here, A, just to uncover what it is they're applying for, and B, if the problem is traffic and the problem is noise, that's something that we need to work with them on. As far as the property, yes, they're going to mine it because that's what they bought it for, and they physically are going to remove part of the property. Obviously, with studies in place, if that's what decided, they're not going to damage the aquifer, certainly not intentionally, because the town of Rhinebeck wouldn't let them do that. But I think it's important to say, just because someone sells a restaurant to someone new, and you don't like the new people because you're afraid they're going to have, karaoke night and everything, and more people are going to come, doesn't mean you can shut them down and say, go move it to Poughkeepsie. It's not realistic. As far as crazy ideas like putting a conservation easement on it, is the town going to compensate them for it? It's ridiculous. They're a person trying to do business. The business has been there for a long time. And I think the focus needs to be working with them, just like you work with Decker and Vonderleith now. And I think you're getting way ahead of yourself saying, move them to Poughkeepsie? Move them to Hudson?
No, move them to Ohio.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I bought a house 13 years ago, too. I didn't buy it next door to a mining operation.
At any rate,
I have a question and a suggestion.
if you do, you have to come up to the microphone.
I live on White Schoolhouse Road also. My name is Teresa Velarde. I just want to comment on that. There's like a disjuncture here between the Rhinebeck that wants to be and the Rhinebeck that is. And I really feel that it's important that the two come together, because I really do like Rhinebeck and I like living here, and I've lived here for a long time, even before I moved to White Schoolhouse Road. But here's the thing. Realtors sell people houses all the time on White Schoolhouse Road, and they tell them that the mines are no problem. There is no noise. Now, you might say, well, you're just stupid and you're just ignorant. Well, how long can you hang around to see if you can count the number of trucks that come in a week? I think the better thing is to create an environment in which the operator of the mine thinks twice before they do something that's destructive. I am not anti-business, but I'm anti-business that basically is looking for just a place to do their work and is not really interested in the community. And I think it's the community that matters. There are lots of people, when I tell them where I live, they say, oh, where's that? These are people who live in Rhinebeck, in the village, okay? Where is that? And then some people will say, oh yeah, that's the road that you take to get to the Taconic. But then there are other people who say, it is such a lovely road. It's amazing, the outcropping, the rock formation, the way the road curves. The whole bicycle club at Bard College has chosen that road as their key point. I mean, there are other things that we're selling besides
the mines, and they can continue the mines, but not in a way that's destructive to the people who live on the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Trimble,
Yes.
can I add, I want to answer and hopefully alleviate some of the concerns of the people of the community. I've been working with Red Wing on other sites, Columbia County, Dutchess County, probably for close to 25 years now. They are a family-owned business. They have been in Dutchess County. Paul, how long has Red Wing been around?
Red Wing is a subsidiary of Package Pavement,
Mhm.
and I've been with Package Pavement for 63 years.
Right.
And I've been on the Recreation Commission in the town of LaGrange for 35 years, dedicated my life to recreation. Most of our finished mining sites that we put in outdoor football field, lacrosse field, soccer field. We created 2 swimming links in 2 different towns. We're dedicated to recreation. You can be assured that we'll do an excellent job of running.
Thank you.
Just want to expand upon that a little bit. Red Wing has a good reputation in these other towns. They've always worked very closely with the community and with the town. They take pride in their operations. They interact very closely with the neighbors, so that if you have a concern, you can come to them and, they will do their best to address it. Sometimes, people just have differences, but for the most part, something is able to be worked out. One thing I would say is Red Wing is probably one of the 3 or 4 most proactive mining companies that I've ever worked with, and I work with, I don't know, I work at about 500 different mines in New York State and Northeast United States, and Red Wing is probably the most proactive. Before I come out to them and say, hey, you need to plant trees here, the trees are already planted because they thought about it. They put themselves in the perspective of a neighbor looking at the mining operation and say, what would I want? So I think you have to make the effort to get to know them. They're certainly going to try to get to know you, but I think a lot of the concerns you have, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when you deal with Red Wing. In terms of why do we need mining, there are a few facts. I mean, I deal with mining across much of New York State, and in the year 2000, there were roughly 2,800 mines in New York State. Now, in 2014, actually as of, say, October 2013 was the last time I checked, we have less than 2,000 mines in the state. What's happening is that in some areas of the state, and in particular Dutchess County, this area here, there are shortages of material. The deposits that are there have been mined out, they have been built on, they have been zoned out. For whatever reason, they are not mineable anymore. What has happened is that there has been a steady increase in the cost of materials. Sand and gravel, we still need the sand and gravel construction materials. Generally speaking, in this country and in New York State, each person in this country consumes 10 tons of construction materials every year. And that number keeps going up because the roads are getting older, they need to be replaced, and they need to be repaired more often because, when a road is built or any structure is built, it's intended to last a certain length of time. It's called a design life. And after that, I mean, you can repair it and do some maintenance on it, but after a certain point, it needs to be a major rehaul. And most of the roads in New York State were built 50 years or more ago. A lot of them were 75 years, and they are beyond their design life. So there's still a tremendous need for sand and gravel. If you were to, some other numbers you might hear out there, if you take that 10 tons of construction materials, and most of it is sand and gravel or crushed stone. I mean, it also includes sand and some other things, but about 8 or 9 tons of that is sand and gravel and crushed stone. That comes out to about 50 pounds of material a day for every person in the state. Some of the projects that Red Wing, if you want, I've got a few of these brochures about Red Wing's operations, some of the things they've done in the past, and some of the projects they've worked on. There's the Bard College Performing Arts Center. They supplied material for the construction of that. The Red Hook Elementary School, the Red Hook Middle School, the Astor Home, and there's also some pictures in here showing examples of sites that they have reclaimed. And They have got some award-winning reclamation out there, and I know that the towns that they were located in were very happy to get these. So this is a company that does try to do it the right way, and I think they look forward to working with the community, to do this one the right way also.
Thank you. Yes.
I'd just like to say one more thing.
Up to the mic, up to the mic.
Oh, yeah. Because it seems, for whatever reason, that Mr. Murray's surprised that we're voicing concerns about this mining operation, and apparently that it's ridiculous for us to even be voicing our preference that it not continue as such. The reason for that, my family's actually been abutting this property for 31 years. And we were told by the very planning board that you're all sitting on now that this would not be an open and shut case for renewal when the time came for it. So that's why I'm here.
From my perspective, I don't think this is an open shut case. I don't have a copy of all the plans that I prepared, but it's about this thick. These are just kind of the summary sheets. So we've done noise studies, we've done the hydro, we've done the ecological studies, we've done the wetland studies. That's all been submitted to the town, and as well, and it's gone through the vetting process with DEC already.
No, I
So,
wasn't questioning that you've done your homework at all. Just that, I was a little surprised that it seemed.
Surprise.
Yeah, that this was going forward without a lot of consideration.
It is not, it is going to have the consideration it requires, which is what we try to do with every application, regardless of what the function is, what the purpose is. And this will be no different than that.
Thank you.
Any other comment this evening? Yes.
Hi, folks. My name's Larry Sullivan. I live in LaGrangeville. And I moved here from Boston 33 years ago. And I've actually lived right behind Mr. Doherty's site in Billings for 33 years now. And I have been heavily involved in Recreation Town LaGrange. I've sat on the Recreation Commission for 20 plus years. I was the chairman of the Recreation Commission for probably 18 years. And I'm just here to tell you folks, I know it can be a scary thing. I've lived there, I've lived with it for 33 years in LaGrange. This operation is a friend to the community. We have wonderful parks in LaGrange. I don't know if you folks have been there. I would suggest maybe you come by it someday. We have concerts in the park on Sunday nights on a piece of property that the Dohertys built and turned over to the town. We have a beautiful pavilion. We have Little League fields, soccer fields, lacrosse fields, Pop Warner fields. And nothing has been mentioned thus far, but a lot of this property, and the mountainous range of this property, we have probably more than 12 to 15 miles of nature trails which are personally maintained by Mr. Doherty yearly. For horseback riding, for hiking, cross-country skiing. It's absolutely wonderful. And I'm just here to tell you, folks, that they are a friend to the community in LaGrangeville. And I've seen their work in East Fishkill, and I've seen their work up in this area. And I personally get excited when I see that they're going to be building that type of water for potential, children of that street, future grandchildren, children of that street to go and recreate on this facility. Because I'm sure that's what their intent is when it's done. That's what they've done in LaGrange for the 33 years that I've been involved with it. That's all I had to say. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
In response, by the way, I don't know the gentleman, but he seemed like a nice guy.
I'm from Boston.
No, my partner's from Boston, I know.
I wasn't going to say anything.
No, by the way, I love children and all that stuff, but and the idea that there's going to be a lake with, that'll be open to the public right behind my property is so exciting to me because I want to hear hundreds of children every weekend screaming and splashing, and that's why I bought the property where I live, was to hear that.
Anything else anyone wishes to bring to us tonight? As I say, we're going to be continuing the public hearing. The planning board has to review the EAF Part 1. We have some work to do. We have recommendations from our highway superintendent we need to consider as well.
Michael?
Yes.
Just one question.
And Art has something to say.
I just have, as town planning consultant, I've just got one observation about the applications that were submitted and a related question, and then a recommendation to make to my client. First, the observation is that Richard pointed out earlier the restriction on truck traffic, size of trucks, et cetera. that was included by the planning board in the prior special use permit. It's not a restriction imposed by the highway superintendent, it's a requirement imposed by the planning board. My observation is that at no place in the December 10th application that was submitted to this board by Paul and Paul, is there any mention of your willingness or your request that that condition be continued, or any comment regarding your intent to ask that that condition be, in fact, modified into the future? Because I noticed that the materials submitted to the town, as well as materials submitted to DEC, simply indicate that the truck routing is being controlled by the town, but there's no mention of truck size. So that's the question, the observation. Buttressing that observation is the fact that the DEC permit, that the interim permit that was issued, as well as the more recent 4 or 5 year permit, or whatever it is, includes no mention of limitation on truck traffic. Further, and that's a major, I think that's a major consideration. There's also a minor discrepancy between the DEC permit that was issued and the prior town special permit in its treatment of Saturday operations. Basically, the town special permit said Saturday operations limited, of any type, limited to 4 Saturdays per year. The DEC permit says Saturday operations limited to reclamation activities with no indication of what constitutes a reclamation activity or how many times a year that can occur. So I guess I'm saying that either now or sometime in the near future, please get to the planning board your response on those 2 particular issues. The recommendation from my client, and hopefully you'll get your response in on that and those 2 particular questions. The recommendation to my client is to consider individually all the comment that was heard this evening, the written comment that has been received, any further comment that may be forthcoming in the next week or so, and schedule this matter for the Red Wing matter for planning board only discussion of the comments that are on the table, and to schedule that discussion for your February 18th meeting as one of the 2 items for consideration at that special meeting. And obviously then be prepared, more prepared to proceed with continuation of the hearing on March 3rd.
Right. Right, that good point, what Melody has just said. So you understand, the planning board discussion on the 18th of February will be a planning board only discussion.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
the
an
public
open
is
meeting.
Right, it's a public meeting, you're more than welcome to listen, but we won't be taking your comments until March 3rd again. That's when the public meeting will open up again. Just don't want to be any confusion there. Any more comments for this evening?
May I ask the applicant just one?
Sure.
Couple quick questions. I see in a lot of these documentation the word blasting. How much blasting do you do in a sand pit?
We are not proposing to
Okay.
do any blasting in the sand pit.
I think that should be stated somewhere in your documentation, that blasting is not part of your normal work approach. The other thing, I'm sorry.
It is a large application, it is said there, but we will clarify that.
For the state of this, for the local folks, so they understand, because a lot of these letters that came in, the word blasting, 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 if that's not the case, let's put it to bed. The other thing that I would recommend that you do is when you have more input, let the public know how long that mine has really been operational. Because it's not been a couple of years, it's been a long period of time.
My recollection is I think there was some small-scale mining there before the permitting actually took place, but my understanding is that the first permit or approval was either granted in 1986 or 1987.
I'm going to confirm what you're saying, Paul. Mary Bohm, who was on the ZBA when a special permit was presumably either first issued or last issued by the ZBA for this particular mine, would have done so prior to 1989, because in 1989, there was a major overhaul of the town zoning law, which among other things, transferred special permit authority from the ZBA, on which Mary sat, to the planning board. So it had to be pre-1989.
So it's roughly 25 years it's been in operation.
Or more.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Things change sometimes.
Yes, they do. Yes.
I have a comment.
Well, please speak up.
Okay.
Make sure your microphone's working.
Where on that map could you show us where the Landsman Kill is?
Lansing Kill is, it flows down, from the shale bedrock over here, comes down right through here, and goes right along in here. The area that we have already mined is a lot closer than this modification area that, we were talking about. So I think at the closest point, we're about 200 feet from the Landsman Kill, the mining that has already occurred. And then I think roughly 800 or 1,000 feet where we're proposing to dig the 9-acre pond.
Because I think part of the issue is, because the Landsman Kill is part of, well, the whole town is in the watershed, but the Landsman Kill, everything there flows into the Landsman Kill, including all the water that's under this proposed lake. All the water flows into the Landsman Kill, so if you take out all that gravel and you put a lake there, it's going to definitely change the Landsman Kill, the Miller's Pond, and all the way down.
Well, it won't, because we aren't removing any of the water, and someone, I think in one of the comment letters, there was a concern expressed that if you remove the filter, if you were to filter your water, say, wastewater that comes from a wastewater treatment plant and run it through a filter, if you run it through a filter that's a matter of 50, 100 feet in length. Right here, we're removing the filter here, but we still have, in terms of the overall flow of water, the groundwater, we've done studies here, and the water flows this direction, ultimately kind of curving towards the Landsman Kill. So overall north and a little bit to the east towards the Landsman Kill. If, a drop of water, lands right here in the pond, it's going to start migrating this way. It's going to start being filtered as soon as it hits the side of the pond, and it's going to be filtered the whole way here. There's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of feet of filtration before, anything, reaches a well, reaches, wetland, reaches a stream. DEC has undertaken studies at mining operations all across New York State. There's a famous quotation from DEC. They know of no instance where mining has impacted the amount or the quality or quantity of water in New York State. There certainly are some circumstances where that can occur. We've taken pains in this application to prevent that. In the application, there's basically a spill prevention and countermeasures plan. We don't want the pollution to ever reach the lake or the gravel, so we put in a plan here. We keep spill prevention kits, or spill cleanup kits, both for above water operations and below water on the site. We don't store the fuel there. We don't refuel near the lake. I can go on. If we go through the application, you'll see there's about a 5 or 6 page section there addressing how do we prevent contamination.
Okay.
Okay, well, it wasn't just contamination, it was just the change in water quality and the change in the habitat downstream.
There won't be any change in habitat or anything like that. I mean, the same amount of water is going to go there. It's following a slightly different route. I mean, we're affecting a few hundred gallons of water, on this mining site, and there are millions of gallons of water a day that travel underneath this site. We've been studying this site, the hydrogeology at this site, since I think 1992, measuring water levels, measuring the changes, looking for changes, and other than slight adjustments in the water table that are a few inches here and there, in an area where seasonally the water table goes up and down 5, 6 feet. there's been very little change in there. And we certainly have not seen any impacts to the groundwater table. Once again, keep in mind, mining has been ongoing here for 25 years or more, too.
Will we be having an independent environmental study?
That's something that we'll be discussing on the 18th, as to whether that's necessary or not. Better bring this guy back. Any other questions from anyone this evening? Then I'd like to ask for a motion to continue this public hearing to March 3rd at 6...
Right up front.
6 what? 6:35? Could I hear a motion?
So be it.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. The public hearing will resume on March 3rd. The planning board will be discussing and going over the environmental assessment form on February 18th
At 6:30.
at 6:30.
First item.
So,
Chairman Trimble?
Yes, sir.
If it would be helpful to the board, if you could give me a copy of any comments, I can provide you with a written summary response.
okay, because there may be some questions. I think some things did come up, some other things, yeah, that would probably be very helpful.
Touch
Thank
base with
you.
Joan.
Thank you.
Touch base with Joan, Paul.
Okay,
That's good.
moving right along.
Paul Matthews.
I'll wait for everyone to leave.
And I'll be right back, Michael.
Okay. We're gonna take a 5-minute break to allow people to do what they're gonna do and
You know me.
my voice to return. Hello.
Amen. Oh, yeah. How's Maureen? Good. Kids, I talked to your brother the other day, and he said that your kids are scattered all over the country. Mine are too. Their trips are all over the place. Yeah, no, that's part of the cycle. Yes, sir.
But I think it's basically, we have a house up here, and about 2 years ago, we came to this building, and I said,
Oh, yeah,
what the hell? We went to the guy downstairs, and he drew me a map, got a map of the size of the table, and I went home. Can I believe that?
Yeah, no, he's pretty good about it. I tell you what, though.
I'm not trying to get him.
Do you have a computer at home?
Yes, they are building in some place. Yep. It's the top of this table.
I could. Oh, you mean just to look? He showed you, and you could point out your property.
I got a part. He gave me a chart. He gave me a
print of the tax parcel.
I hear all the things you're doing. So
Oh, all right.
I missed getting you say hello to you. That we're in trouble. So I was just kind of questioning the fact. What I'm now asking is, how are you? For us to believe that if you said it, gave me a map, it's
Yeah. I mean, did you go to? I don't know who you went from the building inspector or whatever, or the zoning.
Downstairs.
Yeah, and you can literally. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Doesn't have the latest one. Thank you very much.
My brother-in-law lives down in LaGrange on Route 82, where we have an operation, and my wife used to be the attorney for the town of Milan Town Board, which I know they gave you a hell of a run for you. You guys do great work. Yeah, we don't like that. Sorry if I'm a little outspoken, but I tend to be the only one here on this board. Everything stops environmental.
Woody, we were friends as kids.
No kidding.
Seen them in 50 years.
Where'd you grow up?
Down in Lake Carmel. And,
Okay. I grew up over in Clinton Corner.
he knows my wife. We just asked him who he is.
No kidding.
At least 50 years. It's amazing.
That's funny.
And after he said, you know who I am, I said, Woody. You know, after that many years, it's hard. It's funny.
It's very funny.
Well, thanks.
I wish you luck. I know that you guys are going to do the right thing. I'd love to take that. I know you're going to do the right thing. But you know, you're going to have a lot of people who've seen this 3 or 4 times now, and everybody just goes crazy. You know, I tell people, I live right around the corner. I live on Wurtenberg Road. So I'm right down the street. But I call the Deckers and the Bondolese when I need soil, gravel, and everything. They're great guys.
we're going to be going out setting mostly. Because our LJ plant, it's much cheaper because it's almost entirely female. So that'll really take care of the deliveries and do basically the Rhinebeck area. Just stuff will be going on. That's why we're going to start the discussion on the heat. It kills me how these people can say, we don't need these people here, have them move away. Every single one of them. I love the fact that he brought up 10 tons a year per unit. I know these folks. I worked for this.
Yeah, you guys are always talking with people, and I don't understand what's going on.
Recommendation from the
Well, I know his mother and, Earl Duncan. He went to school with me. And then I knew his mother.
They're going to press. They're going to press hard.
Who counts 12 total?
I think that's unbelievable.
Jeff and Bonnie, they could both run 10 meters and try. We're not going to run 12.
Prepared to say that's a
Okay.
during those hours of operation, they have to run twice as many. It would be beneficial to have a larger truck so that we can have less work.
I did an exchange with the district.
If I could ask people to return to their seats so we can finish up and I can get my dinner. That's okay. No, I have seen it. It's okay. Okay, we'll put it in the file. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry. You have my sympathy. Really? It doesn't look too bad, does it? Well preserved. Yeah, there you go.
Take care, Paul.
Okay, everyone, please take your seats.
On the microphone so they can hear you.
Would everyone please take their seats so we can continue with tonight's presentations? Thank you. I want to go to my dinner.
I think Michael started aggravating.
You don't need all of soccer field.
Okay. Moving right along, we have our final public hearing for tonight. Paul Matthews, Old Post Road subdivision plat. Continuation from December 16th, 2013, as deferred on January 6th, 2014, of conduct of public hearing under Town Code, Chapter 101, subdivision of land, an application for subdivision plat approval in the matter of proposed consolidation of two parcels totaling 13.66 acres in the local waterfront revitalization area and rural countryside RC5 district, being an unlisted action under seeker. Planning board consideration of requested input from land use attorney. All right.
Good evening. I represent Mr. Matthews and Mr. Sirikas, who want to do a lot line adjustment between two parcels. One a 3.4 acre parcel on Old Post Road, and the other a 10.26 acre parcel owned by the Sirikas family. We're asking to do a lot line adjustment to combine these two lots into one.
Yes. Oh, okay, yeah. We'll get the doors closed and then we can hopefully, you won't have a background. Excellent. Okey doke.
Okay, that's what we want to do.
All right, as I recall, I know that you have been in contact with Kathy Kinsella. She came out with a driveway permit, and the maps that you submitted, I guess they were off parcel access, suggested that there was no road frontage on Old Post Road and that you were going to have an actual survey done, which you'd require anyway for us to file with the consolidation.
Right. We've asked Marie Welch to say because Marie is handling that.
Okay.
And so if there's any questions for Marie, thank you, Marie, for saying.
Marie?
We're in the process of surveying the property. The field crew has been out there at least once, and the research is being completed. It'll be a matter of time, and we'll be able to provide a map.
Okay.
Actual survey. And yes, there is frontage on, actually, the frontage is on Montgomery Street.
Okay.
Which is the village part of it, where and I'll double check that. I don't know if there's any if it goes beyond the bridge, because the bridge is where it splits.
Right.
Is it therefore outside of Kathy's jurisdiction?
The area where the village line would go through, anything that's in the village would be outside jurisdiction, but whatever's in town.
Yeah, but you're suggesting that the frontage may be within the village, and therefore...
I think when we get the village line determined, we'll see that there's frontage in both.
Okay.
Okay, I guess one of the questions I had all along was the presence of wetlands on the site, and it strikes me, and you'll figure this out when you do the survey, that the frontage, wherever it might be along those roads, basically is going to have to, whatever entrance you get to the dry portion of the property is going to have to go through either a DEC or NWI wetland.
And are you sure that it's DEC wetland?
I know there's I have, from the map here, quite a bit of it is DEC. Some of it down here going towards the village is going to be ones under the town wetland law.
I was just thinking, I didn't think it was large enough to be considered a DEC
Yeah.
wetland, especially because the stream generally is not considered a wetland.
No, it isn't. No, that's not what I have here. And then, of course, the floodplain is rather, I mean, it's a wet area. Everyone knows that's a very wet area. So that's one of the conditions. If it may turn out that a wetland permit may also be needed before access can be gained to the property, assuming access can be found along the town portion. I don't know what the ramifications, another question for the lawyer probably. If the only access is from the village, can the town, I'm not sure, I'm going to have to ask, because I don't know if the access for a town subdivision approval has to also have access in the town. I just don't know. He's shaking his head, so.
Saying no.
He's saying no.
I'm saying no.
It can be anywhere.
I would think, because there already is one ownership now. The village line is a political boundary rather than a
Correct.
property boundary.
Yeah.
Correct.
So there shouldn't be any restrictions.
Okay.
Village property is down there.
So we're going to, obviously going to need that map, so we know that there is indeed frontage. I spoke with John Lyons. Our subdivision regulations prevent us from creating a lot through subdivision. This is consolidation, but in the new law, they consider consolidation subdivision, so it's considered a minor subdivision. To create a lot that is not at least 75% dry, as you recall. Looking at the map, obviously, one of the lots is probably pretty much completely wet, and the other one looks to me maybe more than half, 2/3. So I'm not sure that 75% can be met. So basically what we're asking for, and I spoke with John, he said what we really need is prove access. We're going to need an engineer's letter, not an engineered well and septic or whatever, but an engineer's letter saying that they can be accommodated on the property, basically without variance, without, wetland permits, things of that sort, that there's the area that can happen there. We'll need that before we could approve the subdivision as well.
You're not creating a new lot in the town?
Yes, we are.
No, but it's becoming part and parcel of this.
But it's creating a new lot. By consolidation is considered subdivision, and therefore it's creating a new lot.
Mike, you didn't get the letter from...
Not yet, no, I haven't seen that
This
yet.
was given to Joan this morning.
Okay, well,
Signed, and actually, there was an unsigned
Okay.
copy given to her a while ago.
okay, well, I
An
have,
engineering company.
okay, well, that's what we require as far as the septic
So that's been
and water.
Yeah, that's been...
That's excellent.
There's village water there. We don't need a well. We just need a septic.
Then we'll need some sort of thing, it'll have to go in the deed that you are not going to put a well on, that you are going to
Yeah,
go for village water.
yeah, it's there in the road.
I think the real key here is we're waiting for the map.
Do we have to require that you put something like that in a deed, or just a letter with a proposal, we would use town water, and this is where our septic's going to go, and that makes it feasible?
Only if they are not, if they're possibly going to use a well, it has to be cited as well, because the land mass where it's dry may be such that the separation of well and septic system may require just a certain specific spots on the property. We don't know that. That's why if a well is a possibility, that needs to also be shown that the engineer has to say, yes, both a well and septic could be accommodated if necessary. If we're going to use village water, then it's just the septic. But if,
If it's going to be, if part of it in the village, the health department is probably going to require that it be in the water district, that it be on the village board.
then that would be a note.
They're not going to approve the well.
Then that would have to be a note that we put on the subdivision, because this is, I know it doesn't make sense, but it is a subdivision. It has to be a note on the plat, and if that is indeed one of the requirements, then that has to be noted on the plat. Okay, this is a public, anyone else from the planning board have a question before we? Who did the site visit for this one?
I have a question.
Yes.
You have access, road access in the town and the village?
That's yet to be
Possibly?
determined. Possibly.
So, and since we don't have access from the town, and sounds like the proposed potential dwelling would be in the village section of the property, why isn't this in front of the village?
No, Richard, here. This is the property, this is the village-town line right here.
Right.
Okay, and this is the property here and this one that they want to join together. So I'm assuming the house is going to go somewhere back in here.
Because we've
I'm
already
assuming.
determined this was so wet, they couldn't even possibly get it, but could they have access
Well,
from this
that's
side?
what Marie's going to tell us.
The problem is, we don't have a good definition of this line.
Okay.
It's funny, but this line, Marie doesn't know where it is. But this shows this 0.6 of an acre in the village, and actually more frontage in the town. Because here's the town-village line.
Okay.
So that's what we need to determine, where's that line?
So the problem is, since it's parcel access, we can't.
Right.
That's why we need an actual survey.
That's why
This-
Marie's been hired.
Right. Any other questions from members of the board? Comments from members of the public? Let me see. Is there any reason? We're basically just waiting for that information from Marie.
How long, Marie?
At this point, I don't know if I would have it 2 weeks before the next meeting. I will know more at the end of the next week.
Shall we just continue this until March 3rd, and then if we have that, we have the information we need?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Could I hear a motion to continue this public hearing to March 3rd at 6:40?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Make it 7 o'clock.
Make it 7 o'clock?
Make it 7 o'clock. You're going to use that first half hour for Red Wing.
Okay, make it 7 o'clock. No, we go by the clock up on the wall. Okay. Thank you. Probably right. Oh, it's wet. Okay. Next item, Mensch Grassmere LLC, New York State Route 9 and Mill Road, seeker compliance. Planning board review of draft document and consideration in its seeker lead agency role of filing and circulation in the manner prescribed within 6 NYCRR, Part 617, of final generic environmental impact statement in the matter of the proposed Grassmere Farm hotel development on a parcel with a minimum of 250 acres to be created consisting of 25.2 acre parcel, 29.5 acre parcel, and the balance of a minimum of 195.3 acres from another parcel in the rural agricultural RA 10 and Hudson River National Historic Landmarks Districts and the Town of Rhinebeck Local Water Revitalization District.
Michael, I probably can kick off this discussion and see where it goes. In quick summary, as directed by the board, I secured substantial input from the applicant and the applicant's project team. Worked with the town planning or the planning board engineer and prepared a working draft of the final generic impact statement for the Grassmere Farm development. The final generic environmental impact statement being a response, if you will, to the questions and comments that were received either in writing by the town planning board at the DGEIS public hearing, or in writing, or verbally or orally at the public hearing. As you know, I circulated a working draft to the planning board, I believe on planning board members on the 22nd, asked for comments by the 28th. Did receive a few comments and considered those comments as well as some additional editing that I did, and prepared a final recommended draft for issuance by the board, and transmitted that, I believe, to the membership last Wednesday, the 29th. There were a couple of blanks still in that draft on the 29th. They've since been inputted including a calculation of the percentage of the overall vehicular traffic associated with the development that would be going through the Mill Road entrance on the access, the access on the entrance movement. It turns out to be in the range of 21 or 22% of the total traffic associated with the project, and that to some degree addresses this question of what constitutes principal access. Principal access from the project, at least in terms of numbers, is clearly occurring through the access points on Route 9. The second matter dealt with some clarification regarding the lack of response by DOT to the DGIS, as well as an attempt by the planning board engineer to reach out to DOT for comment. Clarification being that their lack of comment on the DGIS is totally consistent with the position that DOT has held since the time of lead agency circulation, at which time, I believe it was on the 30th of July, they specifically stated that they would be commenting, it would be evaluating the impacts of the project and the work proposed, the mitigation measures with respect to traffic as part of their normal highway work permit process. And of course, as you understand, that work permit process occurs once there's generally once there's preliminary site plan approval granted by by a planning board. The other matters that were inputted simply dealt with dates on which certain notices were published in the past. The notice in the official newspaper on completion of the DGIS, as for instance, occurred on the 3rd and the 10th of November of last year. So the bottom line is, and then I added a few additional comments, I think, to just button up some aspects of the overall project and make sure that as the board moves forward beyond the FGIS into findings and ultimately to public hearings on the applications and decisions on the applications, all of the appropriate paperwork is in place. And I've communicated with the authorization of the chair, with the applicant on a couple of those pieces of information that need to be provided, not by this evening, but before the board issues findings and or moves on to a decision on the special permit. One of the key matters, key items, and it responds to both the modification in the FGIS as well as the request to the applicant, or the order to the applicant, if you will, responds to a point that Sharon raised on the working draft. The matter of being specific as to what are the boundaries of this 250-acre portion of the 525-acre Mensch holdings that are going to be the subject of the special use permit and the subject of the findings, and what the applicant will be doing very quickly between now and your next meeting, or your next, even maybe your special meeting, if not the regular meeting. We'll be submitting a drawing depicting that 250-acre parcel that will be comprised of a portion of the larger Mensch holding, as well as the two smaller parcels that have been typically thought of as the potential development area for this particular project. And we'll be submitting that drawing to the planning board at the appropriate level of sketch plan conference for purposes of subdivision, at which point you'll be locking, we'll be able to lock in that 250 acres into the rest of the package. I think that pretty much summarizes where this stands in terms of procedure. If the board is comfortable with moving forward at this time, the board will be doing so relatively consistent with the dictate of seeker, which says that a board is supposed to issue a final generic impact statement within 45 days of the completion of the comment period on the draft generic environmental impact statement. I have nothing more I can add to the statement itself. If you have any questions, or Woody did point out to me a couple of typographical errors. And interestingly, that one of the typographical errors occurs on the cover of the document, where I have the zip code of my own address wrong.
Should, under involved, under either agencies, should the town historian be listed?
Town historian,
Or is that considered?
the town
under-
historian is an interested party.
Okay, because I didn't.
And if the town historian is not
I
included...
did not see it.
Be there.
16.
I know that that Nancy specifically chastised the board for the board's failure, or I guess probably my failure on behalf of the board to do so with respect to the earlier documents.
We do need to add the town historian.
So we can add the. We will add the town historian to the draft notices of completion. I did prepare, and will simply modify, I did prepare two separate, in addition to the document and the draft resolution that's provided in the meeting notes, I did provide draft notices of completion, two different versions, a full version that would be distributed along with the document, electronically distributed along with the document, and an abridged version, if you will, that will be published in the town's official newspaper. The difference between the two being that the abridged version does not have to repeat the distribution list that's included on the other version. The other thing, is I have discussed with and subject to the board's authorization, have engaged the applicant's planner to actually handle the electronic distribution of this, the packaging and distribution of the document with all the appendices in the same fashion that the DGEIS was distributed, and I was assured that that could happen as early as perhaps tomorrow, if not Wednesday, if this were to be accepted as complete this evening. And as you know, in the past, what simply happens there is that there's a certification provided to the board to that effect. And again, we've got a call here for, if we can possibly do it, for a link to the town website for at least the narrative portion of the document, and the provision of three hard copies, one to the town clerk's office and one to each of the libraries, so if someone does not have access or want to access electronically, they're able to do so. Only final comment, and I guess it's the end of the seeker lecture, if you will, is what is provided for in the notice is a period for consideration of the FGEIS that extends for 10 days beyond the notice. At least 10 days, that's what the provision is. This is set at noon hour or sometime in the afternoon of February 18th, so that as the second item of planning board business on the evening of the 18th, you would begin to discuss with me the drafting of findings. That's the full story, I think, procedurally. You fellows agree? That's.
Any questions for Art?
Yeah, I have not a question, but an observation. I showed it to Art before, and it's pointed at both Art and you guys. In his summary that he put together, 108 pages summary, he entitles the traffic relative to entrances. And nowhere in this document, and I've been through it from page to page, is nothing said about spa guests. And I would like you to expand on which way the spa guests will be expected to come in and go out. You say hotel guests, it may be the same person, but if it's a spa guest, how are they going to be used for traffic flow? You guys know what happened with the traffic flow discussions that we've had in the past. I'd just like to clarify it. That's really all I'm asking.
Is a spa guest a hotel guest, as considered in the traffic analysis? That's Woody's question.
That's a summary of it.
Without going back through the document itself, I can't tell you right now.
It's all right. No, I just want you to be aware to be sensitive to that, because I think it's an open switch. You might want to close it.
Yeah, I mean, given the number of rooms that we're looking at and the size of the spa, we are looking at the large majority of the spa guests also being so that we're not looking at this becoming, but we're looking at really that traffic. We're going to, we'd love to have day spa.
Yeah.
People come in to enjoy the facility, but we're thinking that, on a Tuesday afternoon, for example, it's going to be hotel guests that are going to be.
Yeah, I just would like this, I would recommend that you clarify it, but that's really all I'm asking. Don't,
Just to clarify that, but spa guests who are not hotel guests would not be using the Mill Road entrance?
That's not what, I think.
Let them go off and make that decision. I don't know what that answer is.
This needs to be answered, and my interpretation of the traffic study is there is no separate breakout for spa guest. Consequently, the spa guests are included within within that category of hotel guest, because there is no, and they will be, they are included in that 22% that enters through the Mill Road entrance. If some of those could be could enter otherwise, it would reduce that particular number. But as the traffic study is established, the spa guests are included in the hotel guest. There is no separate access movement shown in terms of the trip origin destination arrival departure split for spa guests coming in through entrance number 2.
Yeah, if indeed that's the thing, just document.
Right, yeah, so the traffic study makes the assumption, no, it doesn't make the assumption. The traffic study considers the spa guest to be hotel guest who will be accessing at Mill and exiting at entrance number 2.
Yeah, all I ask is for clarification.
Yeah, so I think what
Makes
you...
it cleaner when you guys present it.
Yeah, I think what needs to happen is be inserting parenthetically in the where the term hotel guest first appeared, including spa guest, including spa guest, whether or not also hotel guest.
I guess just to clarify, is that when we went back through and we looked at the Bill Fitzpatrick's request on the breakdown of the different uses, including the spa guests and all the rest of that, the categories that were used for the hotel clearly include all of those uses.
Exactly.
And so by extension, or I agree with you, that the spa guests and anything associated with the hotel would be the ones incorporated in that Mill Road entrance and exit configuration. That's not to say that somebody coming in at entrance number 1, which is now the southernmost on Route 9, wouldn't be able to walk over and use the spa.
Walk over.
It's a walkover because there is no direct connection between them.
The other thing that has occurred addresses, I think, that maybe you're interpreting perhaps a little overage that might be associated with spa guests entering, is the fact that there has been a sensitivity analysis conducted too as part of the traffic study that said, what if this facility generates a little bit more traffic than, what, 15% was the number used, 10%, 15%? 10% more traffic than the trip generation rates would otherwise suggest. What would be the impact on the highway network? And it was found that the impact would be negligible.
I think that study even went beyond that and said that the increase would have to be nearly 50% more.
I've run my own numbers at 40%, and at 40% there's no. I can tell you that at 40% there is no effect on operation of levels of service.
All I'm asking for is just some text to clarify, and that's it.
Other
questions? Studies.
Other questions?
I'm afraid to ask any questions after that long, lengthy thing about the definition of a guest at the hotel.
Did you gentlemen have anything you wanted to say to us at this point?
I have a question for the clerk.
Uh-oh.
By pulling strings, how quickly can you get a notice in the official newspaper?
I might be able to have it published Wednesday.
Oh, okay. The only reason I asked that question is because of the 10-day rule. Because of the 10-day rule, a notice would have to be preferably published on Thursday, not later than Thursday, in order to provide that 10-day period for consideration once the public is notified. Yeah, that's.
I need it by
You'll-
9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
You'll have it midnight tonight. I have to, otherwise, I have to make a couple of modifications in the.
But don't wait up for it. Shall I read the draft seeker resolution that Art has here? Is everyone ready for me to do that?
You probably should.
Okay. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board, as duly confirmed seeker lead agency, hereby acts as follows in the matter of a proposed action by Mensch Grassmere LLC applicant involving development of the Grassmere Farm Hotel within a 250-acre set-aside of a 525-acre property on Mill Road and New York State Route 9 South in the Rural Agricultural RA-10 District and Hudson River National Historic Landmark Districts and the town's local waterfront revitalization area, being subject of an application for special use permit for a country inn submitted to the Planning Board on July 1st, 2013, and heretofore classified as a Type 1 action under seeker for which coordinated environmental quality review is required. 1. Determines the final generic EIS prepared by the Planning Board in consultation with its principal consultants, Planners East Incorporated and Morris Associates Engineering Consultants, PLLC, is complete through its incorporation by reference of the draft generic EIS prepared by the applicant's principal consultant, Greenman Pedersen, Inc. Its presentation of revisions to the draft generic EIS addressing the town's green building standards and the revised New York State DEC-issued full EAF, and its response to comments received at either the public hearing or in writing concerning the draft generic EIS, including a modification in the proposed development to redeploy the Mill Road access as an entrance-only driveway for hotel guests. 2. Directs the Planning Board clerk to undertake or otherwise cause the filing, distribution, and publication of the annexed notice of completion of final generic environmental impact statement, including both distribution in accordance with 6 NYCRR 617.12b to all parties listed within the above notice and publication without distribution list in the town's official newspaper. Or I think newspapers, because I think we have 2.
Only have to publish in 1.
Oh, all right. 3, schedules planning board review and discussion of any comments received on the final generic EIS as an agenda item for its special meeting of February 18th, 2014. 4, authorizes the town planning consultant to prepare a working draft of a finding statement for distribution to the planning board following its review and discussion of any comments received on the final generic EIS. The working draft is to be provided for purposes of review and discussion by the Planning Board at its regular meeting of March 3rd, 2014, at which time a date may also be established for continuation of the public hearing begun on November 18th, 2013, in the matter of the above-cited application for special use permit. Okay. Could I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. I'll poll the board. Woody?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Melody?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So, 1 hurdle jumped, 300 to go. Okay.
The planning board discussion on the 18th will obviously be of any comments that are received during this consideration period. It'll also be of kind of a preliminary discussion that we will have of findings, not based upon a hard copy draft in front of you, but an outline of the issues that were examined in the environmental impact statement, and your basically and how those issues have been responded to, as well as beginning to, at that point in time, through the findings, flesh out the conditions that would ultimately be affixed to a special permit.
In our eagerness to get to the Red Wing public hearing, we didn't do the Clinton Johnson Irrevocable Trust resolution, so I'll do those now if everyone's okay with that. The draft seeker resolution, The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows in the matter of the proposed lot alterations by the Quinton Johnson Irrevocable Trust, as represented by Marie T. Welch, land surveyor, and set forth on a survey map prepared by Ms. Welch, entitled Lot Line Alteration, the Quinton Johnson Irrevocable Trust, and dated November 27, 2013, which would be implemented through transfer and consolidation of portions of the trust's lands with adjacent lands of Patrick and Mary Kelly and the lands of Carl Meyer, being a Type 1 action due to its location within or adjacent to property listed on the National Register of Historic Places, for which Planning Board, as sole involved agency, is serving as lead agency under seeker. 1, determines upon review of the EAF Part 1 and its own completion of EAF Part 2 in consideration of both the criteria for determining significance set forth at Title 6, Part 617.7C NYCRR, as well as the agricultural protection policy set forth within the New York State Agriculture and Markets Law and the historic preservation policies underlying the National Register of Historic Places designation, that the proposed action as described in the application and being a Type 1 action will cause no potential significant adverse impact on the environment, and thus issues a negative declaration, determination of non-significance, deeming an environmental impact statement to not be required, and stating such will not be prepared. 2, authorizes the chairman to so execute the first page of the full EAF and directs the planning board clerk to distribute and file the full EAF with negative declaration, annotation, and other documentation as may be pertinent to a Type 1 action in the matter set forth within the Seeker Implementing Regulations, Title 6, Part 617.12, NYCRR. Could I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second. Who seconded?
Woody.
Oh, thank you, Woody. Any discussion? Shall I poll the board on this one?
Sure.
All righty. Richard?
Aye.
Woody? Sharon?
Aye.
Melody? And I vote aye. A little late, better late than never. Could I hear a motion to close the public hearing on this application?
Done.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Last but not least for this one, the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows in the matter of the proposed lot line alterations by the Quinton Johnson Irrevocable Trust, as represented by Marie T. Welch, L.S., and set forth on a survey map prepared by Ms. Welch entitled Lot Line Alteration, the Quinton Johnson Irrevocable Trust, and dated November 27, 2013, which would be implemented through transfer and consolidation of portions of the trust lands with adjacent lands of Patrick and Mary Kelly and the lands of Carl Meyer, and for which a negative declaration, determination of non-significance, has been issued by the Planning Board. Approves the application for subdivision plat approval and authorizes the chairman to stamp and sign the subdivision plat upon the applicant's satisfaction of each of the below conditions and/or requirements within 180 calendar days of the planning board's adoption of this resolution. 1, submission of subdivision plat drawings in the number and form specified within Town Code, Chapter 101, including thereon both all required stamps, seals, certifications set forth within Chapter 101, and notation as required under New York State Agriculture and Markets Law pertaining to the relationship of the property shown on the subdivision plat to lands within a certified agricultural district and the related preference afforded agricultural activities. 2, stamping of the subdivision plat in the form required above as a non-jurisdictional subdivision or for filing purposes only by the Dutchess County Health Department. 3, submission for review by the Planning Board as to sufficiency and subsequent recording in the Dutchess County Clerk's Office simultaneously with the filing of the approved subdivision plat draft of consolidation or merger deeds whereby each of the annexation parcels will be combined with a parcel to which it is being annexed, thus obviating what otherwise would be the creation of non-complying parcels. 4, payment of any outstanding fees or reimbursable amounts due the Town of Rhinebeck with respect to the submission, review, and processing of this application under Town Code Chapter 101, the town's fee schedule, and related executed escrow agreement. Could I hear a motion to approve? Could I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I will poll the board. Richard?
Aye.
Woody?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Melody?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Sign the name.
And I will sign my name. As soon as I get the pen working. Thank you, sir. Okay, as we zip right along. All right. Grace Bible Church, New York State Route 9 North Sketch Plan Conference. Conduct of a sketch plan conference with the Planning Board in the matter of proposed site grading, drainage improvements, and recreational field development on existing church property in the rural countryside RC5 district. Planning Board comment and identification of required permits, approvals, and related submissions. Rod, you got this one?
I got it.
All right.
I'd like to vote for padded chairs for the audience if we can do that.
Yeah, well, we don't do that because it sends speeds things up a little bit.
All right, thank you for your time. The application that we finally have in front of you, again, I think, is for obviously Grace Bible Church. In form of history, the church built on this property on or about 1999. They had come to this board prior to that for approval of the building. Afterwards, I think it was about 2004, they came in for a parking lot expansion. So they've been in front of the board. We first came to the board, our firm, with the consideration of adding to the church itself. That began a study of additional parking, so on and so forth. Due to the economy and all the other elements of it, that project got set by the wayside, at least for the time being. One of the other elements that was really important to the church was the ability to have good outdoor space to do things on. As we all know, as we drive by, we see them have events out there pretty consistently throughout the year. I don't know how many times, if you have a number of times. But one of the characteristics of that property is just due to the way it was, what it is, and the way it was built originally. It's obviously, has a high groundwater table. We installed groundwater monitoring wells a couple of years ago. Absolutely no movement in the groundwater table at all. It's right there. And that's presented issues for the church and hardships for the church really from a few years on after the structure was built. So what we have hoped to be able to do is help them move along in the process of improving the property, making it more usable for the church members, making it more attractive, as attractive as it already is from Route 9, but making it nicer. Obviously, Route 9 is much higher than the church property, and we all look down on it if we're coming to the south, and then we rise and we see just a little bit of the field in the back. What we propose to do is really a bit of an effort of regrading. The front of the property, we would propose to level that area. In the area when you drive through now where our monitoring wells are, there is a low spot. It's really where the water coming off of Route 9 accumulates. It's also where, when the church was originally built, they really put in a pot of fill here into this ground, which created that lower and wet area, which is just unusable. So what we're hoping to do is to make that a nicer level spot, to create a series of plantings in and about that area that look more like natural stands of trees rather than bits and pieces of landscape plantings you put up against a building. At the same time, I want to be able to move the drainage that's accumulating here out around the property. Presently, there is an outlet. It's a little hard to see in the sheet, but in your drawings, there's a pipe that collects water here, runs underneath the parking lot, and outlets here to this point in the wetland. It probably formed that point of the wetland from having been there for so many years. So all we would like to do is to be able to move that line out to this point. We've pulled it out of this area because this is a 100-foot buffer off the wetland. So what we've really tried to do, we've tried to stay entirely out of floodplain, 100-foot buffer from that and the wetland. So that's what this plan does. The big element that you see of it up here is, from the very beginning, the church and the community wanted to have a ball field, a recreation field, a place to be used by not only their members but the community itself. We have laid out a regulation-sized Little League field and squared that off, if you will, so it can become a multi-sport field. We've positioned it in that corner because literally that's the best place for the field to be graded out and created. We've created grades on here, which you would find typically on a ball field, being somewhat level around the plate area and then trailing off through center field, left and right to right and left field. So with that, we've created a backstop area and so on, and again, we've managed to stay out of the buffer. So that was part of our goal. We looked at a couple of different orientations, and even in our pre-application conference, I think you guys correctly pointed out that we needed to mirror the field to get it right so that somebody wasn't, swinging into sunshine late afternoon. We had wanted, one of the reasons of putting it there, one is just the shape of the property, but also this is from this parking lot out and from Route 9 out across. It's a nice view out across there. There's a stream, wetland corridor, operating farm across the way here, and then the property, which I don't think it's really been used for much of anything since I've lived here, to the north. So that's why that's in that position that's there. I'm sure that'll come up later as part of the detail in our application. But that's step one of what we'd like to do. obviously, when we were back, and we were here in front of you in 2008, there was a discussion of maybe someday making the church building itself larger. That's not a part of this application, but it's a consideration. We wanted to be able to make that possible in the future. The church presently has, and again, this is just informational, it's not part of the application, there's a well here. The existing septic field is here. There's no sign of that septic field failing, but I can't tell you as an engineer why it works. So what we want to be able to do and build into our field is a very good area which they can relocate the septic system to in the future. And that's just, more of total disclosure. So there isn't a segmentation question that comes up in a couple of years if we come back, and that's what I've talked to Chairman Trimble and Art about in the pre-app conference too. So that's our picture. That's what we'd like to do.
Basically, this went through the CEO, he finds the whole thing to be acceptable. The one problem is our zoning law requires a special use permit for a nonprofit recreational use facility or use, and it's the use word that gives us trouble here. It requires a minimum lot area of 25 acres and certain setbacks. I'm not going to sit here and say you couldn't get variances, area variances for those. That may be the way to go, because I think that you do want the athletic facility there.
25 acres?
That's what it says, yeah.
Yeah, that is
I know.
that is what your code reads. 25 acres
And I don't understand it either, but that's what it
100-foot
is.
setback for said field.
Yeah, and it's the same thing we faced with the park, the setback for the trail, things that had to be from property lines, things of that sort.
I like all the trees. Are they going to try and just start out with modest plants and hope they grow quickly with all that moisture in the front by the road?
Well, to some degree, they're not Arbor Day Foundation saplings or anything, but, at some degree, we have to choose what's an appropriate size to plant, and our landscape architect's gone through and placed them in there. I expect us to change that somewhat as we go, just from the point of view of what you're saying, Richard. We want them to be able to, not from day one, because you can't, you could, I suppose, but you're not going to plant a 30 or 40-foot, tree that looks like it's been there for 100 years, but we want to create the stands of trees, if I can say it like that.
Any other questions from board or suggestions? I guess the thing we just need to know, do you wish to proceed going to the ZBA for a variance, or going to the ZBA to question whether or not this really qualifies as a nonprofit, non-commercial recreational use?
Well, I've talked to our clients about it, and I think we're both, from a design point of view and from a use and owner point of view, we're pretty committed to liking our plan. We think that it's defensible from what I've seen in the sections of the code. I have to go study myself what the 25-acre reasoning is and the setback.
You're not going to find it in here.
Yeah, but if we do, alternates of the ball field, and we can always shrink the ball field, but we don't want to. We want it to be able to be usable by the community because of the size it is, and to push it anywhere else, to bring it this way.
Right.
Again, I realize it's an argument we'll make in front of the ZBA, and a long story short, we will make an application to the ZBA, and I think we'll just apply as a variance, we'll do everything at once, and if they interpret otherwise, and it's not necessary, or there's some other reasoning, then we'll just try to shorten the process as much as possible and make the application.
Yeah, other than that, I've certainly found no issues with this application.
Does this board need to make a recommendation to?
It will make a recommendation. The ZBA will.
On referral.
Will submit it to us.
On the return referral.
Correct.
Is there a reason why you want to open it up to the public? Is it because of our zoning to qualify as nonprofit?
Actually,
I mean, why?
I was trying to figure out if it weren't open to the public, and I guess I'm ignorant. I don't know enough about different schools or church-related schools. Do they have athletic facilities for the students? In which case, could it be considered an accessory use to a church school? Because I know you do teaching and things there too, so it is also a school as well as a church. Yeah, well, school, I mean.
School, I'd like to see how that reads in the code.
Yeah, I know, forget it. But I tried to, and personally, I was not able to come up with data to support that myself, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen.
Right.
But I think Richard's point then maybe comes to the fore, if you open it to the public and it is nonprofit, and it is non-commercial, and then you fall back into, yeah, it's something for the public good, and so all of a sudden you're being told you can't do it without 25 acres. And I don't know.
Not that I don't want to come there and whoop and yell in the middle of Sunday services playing baseball. I would lose a lot of God points.
Well, it seemed
but,
like
you
a
know.
catch-all in some, I don't want to say catch-all, it's not fair, but not-for-profit or other non-commercial outdoor that catches.
It's a catch-all.
That's a catch-all.
It's a catch-all.
So, again, those are discussions for the ZBA, and I don't want to keep you here, but I think our intention is to proceed right to the ZBA and
And
see what
the
we can do
planning
there.
board will certainly discuss it, as well as we have to give a recommendation to the ZBA upon referral as to whether we feel it makes sense to give those, the variances that you'll need in terms of the area variances that you'll need. So that discussion will take place here as well.
Okay.
Other than that, is there anything else, anything that anyone feels could be modified in this plan or ought to be changed?
How big is the site acreage
It's
wise?
9.72 acres. Yeah.
Did I see a new roadway in front of the church?
No.
Or is it just the lines I was looking at that,
There's the existing driveway.
these right here I was looking at? Is it
No,
just-
that's intended to be
Just the
ground
contour, that's the
ground
grading?
contour, yeah. Yeah, we'd like to be able to bring that field up higher. And basically, where you see lawn directly in front of the church, we'd like to be able to extend that over.
This is literally going to be just pushed up?
It'll be leveled off in there, yes. What we won't do is, up here where the old stone church is, we actually had originally laid out extending this knoll, if you will, down here a little bit further, just to channel the DOT water, right more along the edge of the property line. But when we went out, we took photos, we looked at some of the history, we decided that, and the landscape architect in particular was fairly forceful, that there's no reason to change that hillside. And there's no reason to change because you have grave sites all the way down, right up to close to the property line. So we just wanted to supplement some plantings in there and not change the grade. And we could do whatever we wanted to do through here. The plantings, there has to be a good mix because we want to still be able to see the views across. The idea isn't to block this because it's just to accent it, if I can say.
I think once we actually have the application, then the CAB will look at it, and they may be able to give you some, suggestions about plantings and things like that, sufficient, suitable material, things of that sort.
Okay. Is there anything we can do with the board which will help us along procedurally in the process? Is there a circulation for lead agency? Is there any of those steps that
I
make
think
sense to take?
we need to wait for the application actually to come to us before we can do anything in terms of seeker.
Application, because we filed site plan and special use permit applications with you. You have a full application package.
We do.
Yeah, this is the sketch plan conference, but it's on the basis of applications.
Right. So we're just waiting for,
The board,
Actually, they're gonna-
the board could, to the extent such may be required, authorize circulation of a notice of intent to serve as lead agency. I say to the extent required because this apparently is an unlisted action under seeker.
I'm not sure.
And if it is an unlisted action, then coordinated review is not required.
I think it's type 1
Oh,
because it's
because of
adjacent
the
to Stone Church.
adjacent property, you're
Stone
right,
Church,
you're
so
right.
it is type 1.
Okay, so
Well, we could do that tonight.
You could do that, you have sufficient information to do that, at least it would get that process along. It would address a concern that the ZBA is probably going to have right up front when you go to the ZBA. So you'll circulate, you'll include the ZBA among the parties that.
Although we have, the ZBA usually defers to the planning board to do seeker when there's a.
Which they will do here which they'll undoubtedly do here on the basis of
Right.
your lead agency coordination letter. Yeah, good point.
That's my memory, correct? You need to grant seeker determination before they will vote, right?
Right.
Before they vote, yes, we also need to do that as well. Well, all
Right, no, we submitted the full
That's right.
Yeah, you
application
submitted
package
this.
fees and all that after having met with.
Because that's what I
you
looked
and
at and
Ellie.
made my wonderful determination. So, yeah, you did do that. Well, I don't think the planning board has any concerns whatsoever about anything that you've actually submitted to
Thank
us.
you.
It's just a question of the variance that you'll need. But we can run the review, as you know, the site plan special permit concurrently. with the
That'd be
ZBA
great.
is acting.
We can do that.
But we got to do the seeker's circulation first, that 30 days. So, could I hear a motion to declare the intent of the planning board to serve as lead agency for the Grace Bible Church special use permit and site plan application review process.
Number one, classify it as a type 1 action, and secondly, do what you just did.
Oh, okay.
You classify the Grace Bible project as a type 1 action under seeker, and indicate it's the board's intent to proceed with the distribution of a notice of intent to serve as lead agency, and authorize the clerk to so distribute.
Do I hear a motion? Second. Oh, you guys are quick. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Very good. Okay, we'll get that done.
Thank you.
Okay. Still awake over there, Warren? All righty. Richard Kopaszynski, Grinnell Street, Sketch Plan Conference. Conduct of sketch plan conference and, if timely, initial presentation of applications for special use permit and site plan review and approval in the matter of the proposed construction of a single-family dwelling on combined tax map parcels totaling 1.41 acres in the Rhinecliff Hamlet RHC and Rhinecliff Overlay districts and the local waterfront revitalization area. Planning board comments. Identification of required permits, approval, submissions, and processing of timely under seeker and town code.
Since the time of preparation of the agenda, this matter has been extended to include another application, that being an application for subdivision plat approval to effect a lot consolidation.
Right. And
all of those matters are dealt with in my meeting notes.
And we do have the necessary applications for all of those, so.
Yes, I didn't bring another copy to put up on board, but you all have your own individual
Yes.
copies. These are, as Art just noted, two adjacent lots. The previous owners, by the name of Brown, had initiated the application to the Dutchess County Health Department to get approval for its application for a single-family residence. And that was done by the Health Department by creating an easement from one lot over the other, because the larger of the two lots, the 1 acre lot, had both the entire septic system, which is a pump system, as well as the house site, and the .41 acre lot, which was one of those old paper roads in Rhinecliff, was just a driveway into it. So the health department was okay with an easement to one lot over the other, but I think both Michael and Art rightly pointed out it made much more sense at this point anyway to consolidate the two lots, because you'd never be able to use the one without the other. So as Art noted, in addition to the standard for Rhinecliff, which is a special use permit application and a site plan application, we also have the subdivision, or really consolidation application, as part of the package. And because, of course, it's in the local waterfront revitalization program district, we've got the coastal consistency form, walk form, secret form, and in there too. But the intent is Richard Kopaszynski would like to build a single-family residence on the property, on about the only spot on the property available for that. He did submit, as part of the subdivision consolidation application, the engineer's plan that shows the septic system and where the house could go, and we're pretty much right there. And that's the application. But because, again, we're in Rhinecliff, there aren't predetermined or pre-prescribed setbacks. So obviously, concurrent with where we're showing the house.
And the gross floor area is under 2,300 square feet.
Yes.
And it is shorter than 35 feet, so the only two actual bulk regulations that do apply, it meets very easily. I found no issues with this application. Pretty straightforward. Looking at the design, I think it meets our design guidelines. I don't know if there's anything lacking here that would prevent us from going forward with the review of this project. Having said that, I'll read.
The application's very complete. Warren's been through the procedure many a time.
Got it down.
It's on the riverbank side?
It actually is at the very far southern end of Grinnell, and as you pull into the property, there is another property between this and the river. The ground rises, so there is actually no view of the river from the property. But it's at the termination of Grinnell. But if Grinnell were to continue, it would not be in the riverbank side, if that makes any sense.
The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board, following conduct of required sketch plan conference with the applicant's representative, hereby additionally acts as follows in the matter of applications by Richard Kopushinsky for subdivision plat approval, special use permit, and site plan approval, excuse me, to authorize the consolidation of tax map parcels, there are two here, totaling 1.41 acres in the Rhinecliff Hamlet RCH and Rhinecliff Overlay RCO districts and the local waterfront revitalization area into a single lot and the construction thereon of a single-family dwelling and related site improvements as depicted on Site Plan C1, Architectural Plans A1, A4, and A5, and Perspectives P1 through P4, all as prepared by Warren Temple Smith Architects, LLC, and otherwise the subject of a full EAF Part 1 and coastal assessment form. 1, accepts the application as adequate for commencing review by the planning board, the board's consultants, and the public. 2, classifies the proposed action as a type 1 action under seeker for which, in the presence of a heretofore issued design approval by the Dutchess County Health Department for proposed on-site sanitary sewage disposal facilities, there are no other involved permitting agencies or permitting agencies, thus making the planning board the lead agency under seeker. 3, schedules a combined public hearing on the applicants for Monday, March 3rd, 2014 at 7:05, and directs the clerk to undertake and or otherwise cause noticing and posting thereof in strict accordance with the provisions of both Town Code Chapter 101, Subdivision of Land, Section 101, 4.4D, and Town Code Chapter 125, Zoning, Sections 125.66 and 125.77. Delegates planning board members. Who wants to go to Rhinecliff?
I'll go.
Richard? I'll go. Richard and Michael to conduct a field visit to the project site and report their observations at the time of public hearing. Refers the applications to the Town Conservation Advisory Board for review and comment. Refers the applications to the Town Historian for review and comment. Refers the applications to the Town Waterfront Advisory Committee for review and recommendation as to consistency with pertinent town coastal policies as set forth within the town's local waterfront revitalization program, without prejudice to requirement for careful consideration by the planning board or any input that arises through the continuing review process as set forth above, authorizes the planning consultant to prepare working drafts of resolutions with recommended conditions and/or requirements incorporated for consideration by the board under seeker and the town code when and if timely. Could I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Very good. So I'll get in touch with you, and Richard and I will schedule where we can come out to Rhinecliff. Yeah, well, one can hope.
Warren? Collecting royalties on the design. I think it's pretty neat.
Okay.
Oh, good. Really nice.
Okay, last but not least. Okay. Carmichael Road Enterprises LLC, Wildercliff, 524 Mill Road and Morton Road, Sketch Plan Conference. Conduct of Sketch Plan Conference and, if timely, initial presentation of applications for subdivision plat approval, special use permit, and site plan review and approval in the matter of the proposed consolidation of existing parcels totaling 37.7 acres in the Historic Preservation HP 20 District and LWRA, and rehabilitation of existing dwelling and site appurtenances and construction of tennis court. Planning board comment, identification of required permits, approvals, and submissions, processing if timely under town code and/or seeker. Thank you.
Here representing the applicant for the Wildercliff site. It is a two-lot, commonly owned property on Mill Road and Morton Road. Mill Road's here, Morton Road's there. We have the Hudson River over here. We are in the Historic Preservation Zoning District, and we are within 1,000 feet of the mean high water mark for the Hudson River. And we're also in the local waterfront revitalization area. It is a residential property. There is an existing residence, existing barn. They have a pool. The applicants are currently rehabilitating the house and the pool. One of the reasons we're here is we need site plan approval for some of the work that they're doing for that. We also want to consolidate the two lots into one, extinguish the interior lot line, which is right here, because the applicants want to put in a tennis court in this location right here, and because this parcel in the location where they want to put it is currently undeveloped, we can't do that as a primary use, so we'll consolidate the lots. But what happens with that is we end up with a fourth accessory structure on the site, so we will need a special permit for that. I covered everything.
Well said. Any questions?
Is the dollhouse still there?
It is.
Okay.
This is all because we want to put a tennis court on that piece? Otherwise, you wouldn't have to consolidate.
We wouldn't have to consolidate the lots if it weren't for the tennis court, right?
Because you're consolidating, you got to go for the special use for the, how many structures?
No, here's the problem. They need, if they put the tennis court on the second parcel, it would be the only thing on the second parcel, and therefore would not be an accessory to the residential, and it would be therefore a principal structure on the principal structure and principal use of that second lot, and would have to meet requirements like the 25-acre requirement that we were just speaking of.
Really?
Yeah.
For a tennis
Okay, and then, okay.
Yeah, and that lot's only
So now we consolidate. And the issue that remains after consolidating is the fact that the tennis court constitutes a fourth accessory structure. The zoning law allows 3 accessory structures and says if you're going to have a fourth or a fifth, you have to have a special permit from the planning board to do so.
Right, so we're here for that.
And this basically allows them to do what they wish to do, where they wish to do it.
But just a special permit, not a variance from the zoning board or anything?
No, it's a special permit.
No, just a special permit.
Again, as in the case of the prior application, this is it's a complete package that has been submitted, assuming that the fees have been taken care of, Joan?
No, we have to take care of the fees. We're just confirming that, I just want to confirm that there aren't any other special permits we need. There's just the one special permit.
Can they come back and put another accessory structure with another application and make a guest house?
If they were to get approval by the planning board is not required to approve an additional accessory structure.
Oh, we could?
But we could, yes,
Yeah,
they can
yeah,
certainly
it's
apply for it.
It's just that any accessory structure beyond the third requires a special
An
permit.
additional special permit, yes. And I just want to explain a little bit of the history of what happened here. All the work that they have done on the property has been done with building permits issued, COs, inspections, all of that. They should have come before the planning board for the special use permit and site plan because of where it's located, but they were told that they didn't have to. So they have done everything they, were told to do, and it was therefore determined that what is going on in the building permits they currently have, they can certainly continue to execute. What they're doing is bringing it all under the site plan now, the building permits they're currently working with, plus the tennis court and anything of that sort.
What is it that would have triggered them to come to us initially?
Well, when they redoing the pool, some work on the house, taking some stuff off the house, things of that sort, it would have been because it's a historic structure for site plan.
Okay.
LWR.
It's not a historic structure.
It's not.
It is not a
Ooh, I
designated
thought it
historic
was.
structure.
So what
It would have
renovations
been
are they
1,000
doing?
feet from the Hudson River.
The house is not.
So any renovation on a house, just because it's within 1,000 feet, a new roof, means you got to come from?
Not necessarily maintenance or anything like that, no. Not necessarily maintenance. But any actual construction or work within that area, like the swimming pool, I guess, was a sort of a demolition, rebuilding of the swimming pool, things of that sort. There's things
Okay.
like that.
All right.
And
No, I'm
some
just trying to
other-
understand.
No, absolutely. And they asked all the right questions, and they did exactly what they were told to do. They were just given the wrong information at the time. And now we're just correcting all that.
Not an historic structure, but within the landmarks
Yes.
district?
Right, and that
Okay,
would
so
also-
so it's still type 1?
And that would trigger site plan also.
Yeah, it's still type 1 on that
So,
basis.
yeah, you've covered them all.
Okay.
When I was younger, like probably early mid-teens, I was friends with the girl that lived there, so I was in the house, and it was, as a young person, I was like really impressed with the house then, so it's really a neat place.
What's the dollhouse? Is it something sizable house that just made for the daughter?
It's like a child's playhouse outside. It's visible from the road.
They're not touching the dollhouse.
They better not.
That is a historic structure.
Has any part of that footprint been expanded?
Footprint of the house?
Of the main house?
Yes, actually. What they did was, this doesn't show the existing condition, but there is an existing condition plan in the drawings that I gave you. The main house itself remains the same. They put an addition, a one-story addition on the back. They're expanding the kitchen into there. And the terrace is roughly the same footprint as it was before, the veranda, on the back with the view to the river. That's roughly the same, but they have demoed it and they're reconstructing it. It was in poor condition. There's, in the front of the house, there was a portico. They have demoed that and they're going to reconstruct it. And that is getting slightly larger. They've demoed and reconstructed the porch. They will be reconstructing the porch on this side of the house, and there was a porch in the front that they have demoed, and they're putting a different one around the side, which is roughly the same size.
And all new windows in the building.
Excuse me?
And all new windows.
They are rehabbing the house. So, yeah, it's
I'm familiar
all
with
new
the
windows.
Shall I read on one more time?
One question. They're rehabbing or redoing the septic system.
They are.
Do they have health department approval yet?
We do.
You do have health department approval, and we discussed some of this at the pre-submission. Total disturbance here is less than an acre or more than an acre?
No, actually, when we originally started construction on the project, there was less than an acre of disturbance. But since we did the additional research into the condition of the septic system, and with the addition of the tennis court, we are now over an acre, and we have, well, we're not currently over an acre of disturbance, but with the new, with the additional.
What does that trigger?
It's stormwater speedies.
We've filed an NOI with the DEC.
Okay, fine.
We've prepared a SWIP. It's all included on the drawings that we've submitted to you. I know you guys don't do SWIP review, you're not an MS4, but.
Right.
We look at it.
Yeah.
So if
But
you-
it's all there, and we have filed an NOI.
So if you bring an excavator in and move enough earth, you can go for the last permit? You're probably the only one you're not asking for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
You could,
Anyway.
I thought perhaps you could knock out the lead agency coordination, but in the,
Once
you
move
can't.
over 100
Keep
yards,
the resolution as it is.
Okay.
you have to go for
The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board,
excavating
following
permit.
conduct of required sketch plan conference with the applicant's representative, hereby additionally acts as follows in the matter of applications by Carmichael Road Enterprises LLC for subdivision plat approval, special use permit, and site plan review, and approval to authorize the consolidation of lots numbers given into a single parcel totaling 37.7 acres, Wildercliff, in the Historic Preservation HB 20 District and the LWRA, and both rehabilitation of the existing dwelling and site appurtenances and construction of a tennis court thereon, said tennis court being a fourth accessory structure, all is depicted in a set of engineering drawings prepared by Insight Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture, PC, dated January 21st, 2014, and a set of architectural drawings prepared by Imagine Architecture, PC, revised to November 2nd, 2013, and otherwise subject to a full EAF Part 1, a coastal assessment form, and agricultural data statement. 1, accepts the applications as adequate for commencement review by the planning board, the board's consultants, and the public. 2, classifies the proposed action as a type 1 action under seeker, which the Dutchess County Health Department and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation or other involved permitting, approving, or financing agency. 3, in the presence of the above circumstances, declares it to be the intent of the planning board to serve as lead agency for required coordinated environmental review of the proposed action under seeker, and thus directs the clerk to issue the annexed notice of intent to serve as lead agency under seeker in accordance with the pertinent provisions of the seeker implementing regulation 6 NYCRR Part 617. 4, schedules a combined public hearing on the applications for Monday, March 3rd, 2014 at 7:10, and directs the clerk to undertake and/or otherwise cause noticing and posting thereof in strict accordance with the provisions of both Town Code Chapter 101, Subdivision of Land, Section 101, 4.4D, and Town Code Chapter 125, Zoning, Sections 125.66. Directs, where's my pen?
And
Planning board
125-77.
And 125-77.
That's why there's no period at the end of that. Got dropped off somehow.
7, okay. And delegates planning board members who wants to go down by the river.
Me?
Woody and Sharon.
That's not fair, we're neighbors.
Do I meet you there, or you go on your own?
They'll arrange with you.
We're going to meet somebody there.
We meet somebody there.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is get your phone number and by the way, she never said who she was, so I don't know what, well, I don't read that.
I apologize, Dawn McKenzie, Insight Engineering.
Hi.
Thank you.
Okay, 6.
Yeah, if you give us a card or,
Yeah, well, we try to be rather loose here. 6, refers the application to the Town Conservation Advisory Board for review and comment. Refers the application to the Town Historian for review and comment. Refers the application to the Town Waterfront Advisory Committee for review and recommendation as the consistency with pertinent town coastal policies is set forth within the town's local waterfront revitalization program.
that's not in the registry.
9, refers the applications for special use permit and site plan review and approval to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for review and advisory opinion pursuant to the requirements of Section 239I and M, or L and M, of the New York State General Municipal Law. 10, request further technical review of the applications by the town's planning consultant and without prejudice to requirement for careful consideration by the planning board or any input that arises through the continuing review process as set forth above, authorizes the planning consultant to prepare working drafts of resolutions with recommended conditions and/or requirements incorporated for consideration by the board under seeker and the town code when and if timely. Could I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion?
Richard?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. We're good to go. You, Monday, yes.
March 3rd.
March 3rd at 7:10. And Woody and Sharon will, coordinate the visit with you, the site visit. All right, unless my eyes deceive me, we're done.
Joan?
Yes.
Get,
Absolutely. Yes.
get the fees into Joan.
Oh, wait a minute. Actually, yes, you can have mine because I'll remember that Richard and I are going.
Did you make that
We're going to Rhine Cliff.
We're going to,
Richard, because you're
Richard
Kopachinski. Richard's going to Richard.
Right.
I'll remember
Correct.
this.
Correct.
I hope. I will.
As far as lead agency coordination goes, that's something that we do.
We take care of it.
We do that.
We take care of it.
We'll take care of it. Yeah, you're set.
Except for whatever noticing that Joan's going to talk to you
For the
about.
public hearing, and you'll coordinate that with Joan. Okay? Thank you. Anything else, anyone else has to bring up this evening?
Just for the board, I think you got my little summary of projects before the board. I think we've gotten so busy that I'm simply going to be updating that on a meeting-to-meeting basis so we can so that if nothing else, I can keep track of what's going on. There are 18 open files right now, and there are several more coming.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to let you know that Melody and I had a very good talk with Brian Cohen. Keogh. Oh.
Hold it.
He's the lead.
K-E-H-O-E.
Oh, Keogh, okay.
Anyway, he's the planner for Dutchess County Planning Development assigned to Rhinebeck. He was assigned back in March, and he got in touch with us a couple of weeks ago saying who he was and everything, and so I invited him up to meet with us to see what was going on down there. Very nice guy. He's, willing to work with us. If we have questions, give him a call, things like that. Seemed quite interested, so, and it could be very helpful. He certainly has ties to certain different county agencies, things like that, that could prove helpful to us, I think, in the future. So, that's who he is. Anything else anyone has to say?
what does that mean? He oversees anything that we send down there?
I think he's like when we send the 239 referrals, he's the one who reviews them and gives county comment, for example. And he's also there if we want some help with something that he might be able to help us with county government, with county things of that sort. Sort of
Do
when it's signed
we ever
off.
reach out to the county?
We never knew we had someone.
Yeah,
I mean, so it's the first time I have called them since I've been on the planning board. So, but he seems very interested and really willing to help, so I think it's a good thing. Woody?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second? Second. All in favor, we stand adjourned?
What's the status of?